Here's a look at the starting nine as announced by manager Mike Piazza. It is a supremely talented Milwaukee Brewers prospect who will lead things off, the second-ranked prospect in the Brewers organization, number 30 overall in baseball. That's Sal Frelick and Vinny Pasquantino right there in the heart of the lineup.
Yeah, and you look at this Italian lineup, there's the mixture that the youth, you mentioned the big prospect in number 1, Frelick, and then you're sprinkling some of these established major leaguers. One guy hitting number 3, we've talked about Vinny Pasquantino a lot. We see Brett Sullivan, David Fletcher, Nicky Lopez. Rock solid lineup.
And there he is, the one-time World Baseball Classic roster member, Mike Piazza, who played for Italy. Now, the country of his residence. Mike Piazza is an Italian citizen, lives just outside of Parma, one of the baseball-loving areas of that country. And on the opposite side tonight, vs Elias, who gets the opportunity to go against this talented lineup for Italy. The first pitch is fired in there, 92 miles an hour at 7:08 in the evening for ball 1, and we are underway here in Taichung. The leadoff man for Italy is that Brewers prospect Sal Frelick, who is one of a lot of talented young outfielders in that system. You look at somebody who has been as successful as Sal Frelick has been so far in his career, as he swings and lifts this one in the air right side. That'll settle into the glove of Yadiel Marica.
And you saw some numbers flash up there for Rowanus Elias, a guy who's been in and out of the big leagues more of late. 2022 had that quick little stint, 7 innings, trying to get back to the big stage. Fastball, changeup, curveball. There his pitches. The changeup and curveball is kind of 50-50 as in put away pitch. Changes his arm slot. There's another guy too. We talked about this with the game today. These guys who really suited for this tournament style play. The guys who can go one time through the lineup. You do have the pitch restrictions. Elias was that multiple inning guy in everyone's bullpen with really good stuff.
You may have seen that note, hottest pitcher on the planet, and thought, was there a People magazine poll that I missed out on? But no, it in fact refers to his stint in the Dominican Winter League with Aguilas, and a 4-0 mark in 7 starts, a 0.92 ERA, 38 Ks, 10 walks, and 39 innings pitched, as John Valenti, the Detroit Tigers prospect, battles here at 0-2.
Well, that's one thing with Elias. Some of the injuries he's had the UCL surgery, but his command can get away from him. So you look at some of those numbers, what he did in the Dominican Winter League, which is no picnic, that is for sure, getting ready for this World Baseball Classic. It's a good sign.
Lefty kicks and comes home on 0-2 and puts that in the dirt. 1 ball and 2 strikes. John Valenti out of the Tigers system. A guy who was drafted in the 21st round in 2018 out of St. John's University in Queens, where he had a terrific run as a collegiate player in the Big East. Swinging this on 1-2. He's gone on strikes. So 2 quick outs recorded by Rowanus Elias on 8 pitches.
And there's that good changeup, big weapon, tons of movement. But what's more impressive watching Elias, especially with his time with the Mariners, is the arm speed. Comes out that exact same tunnel as that fastball. There's no giving away anything regarding the changeup with that arm speed. That's usually that put away pitch to righties, and to lefties got that big sweeping breaking ball.
And that brings in Pasquantino, and Vinny's first swing of his World Baseball Classic tenure is fouled back. It is no balls and a strike. Vinny Pasquantino, it is impossible to talk to Vinny Pasquantino and not immediately love Vinny Pasquantino. He is a gregarious, intelligent, inquisitive, fun guy. He was drafted back in 2018 out of Old Dominion University, same school that produced Justin Verlander. A little while earlier in the baseball scope of the 21st century, but Vinny has just continued to climb the ranks in the Kansas City Royals organization, and fastballs and breaking balls are going to get hit and are likely going to get hit hard when you work to Vinny Pasquantino. But the thing that really makes him unique is his plate discipline.
It really does. And look, we talked about the minor league numbers and then getting a chance to play in the big leagues last year. Walks more than he strikes out. That is extremely tough to do. Only 8 players in the big leagues with more than 250 plate appearances have been able to do that. And you're talking names like Juan Soto, Alex Bregman, Stephen Kwan, Michael Brantley. is in good company. You can take a look at this spray chart right here, the extra base hits. Not to mention, too, you talking about the plate discipline, the average exit velocity as well, 91.2. Has that combination, the Italian Nightmare. George Brett gave him that nickname because he does not chase, hits the ball hard, makes a ton of contact. All those little pieces that tell you that this is not a guy who's just going to show up and go through these long slumps, these stints where he's not hitting. Different ways he can beat you.
Facing a left-hander on the mound tonight, all 10 of his home runs last year came against righties. Pasquantino awaits a 3-2 pitch on the way to him from Elias, and that one's fouled back. Vinny Pasquantino's other nicknames, nearly as good, or maybe even slightly better, than the Italian Nightmare. The Italian Breakfast, one of them.
The Breakfast.
And also Pasquatch, which is very good. If you're not playing off of the Italian side of it, Pasquatch is fantastic. Especially because Vinny Pasquantino standing out there on the baseline as the lineup is announced. You really realize how big he is.
Yeah. On the elevator with him the other day at the team hotel. I was like, hold on a second. He slide over just a little bit, filling up the entire hotel. And he is just simply not going to chase that pitch.
Let's take a look at the defensive alignment for Cuba behind this starting pitcher, Roenis Elias, as announced by Armando Johnson, the manager. That outfield manned in center by Luis Robert with a Gold Glover to his right. In left field, and Yoenis Cespedes. Isabella Rubarena at shortstop, and Yohan Moncada, the other superstar, over at third. First pitch swinging, foul back into the screen by Arizona Diamondbacks prospect Dominic Fletcher, and it is no balls and a strike. Dominic Fletcher on this roster along with his brother David, who we will see out of the 6th spot in the order today. David, the Los Angeles Angels shortstop. And these two guys are maybe the perfect example of something that Mike Piazza has really continued to hammer home to baseball fans, which is just because your last name may not end in a vowel, may not sound Italian, does not mean that you're not just as Italian as anybody else. The Fletcher brothers, really cool story for these guys. They are members of an Italian family. Their mom, Fernanda, grew up in Florence, in Tuscany. She speaks Italian fluently. They, as kids, spoke Italian fluently. And what was cool was last fall, a lot of members of this roster traveled to Italy, met up with Mike Piazza, did a little tour in the country. They actually stopped in Florence so the Fletcher brothers could meet up with some family members and see the area where their mom grew up. They said they spoke Italian with relatives. They still remember and know a lot of it. Very cool stuff. And David Fletcher coming out of the 6th spot, the shortstop, his brother batting in the cleanup hole and taking his hacks right here, facing a 2-2 count. Pitch on the way to him. Down. So Elias getting the first 2 outs pretty quickly, and now up over 20 pitches.
For Elias, we talked about that command. This is a situation, he gets 2 strikes quickly, and then he gets away from the middle of the plate. It's a little bit too much, burning into that pitch count.
Pasquantino moving, and this ball driven in the air to left, and Yoenis Cespedes has it in his sights to put it away for out number 3. 2-out walk for Vinny Pasquantino does no damage. We're ticketed for the bottom of the 1st in Ty Jar. Starting lineup looks like this for Armando Johnson and Cuba, which is coming off a tough loss yesterday to the Netherlands, 4-2 the final. Some jumbling in this lineup, but the biggest headline is the guy who slots into the cleanup spot. Alfredo Despaigne is in the lineup for the first time in this World Baseball Classic.
Man, this is good to see. He was out yesterday with a bit of back tightness, but he really is the heartbeat of this national team. You can talk about the big leaguers coming back all you want when you talk about Yohan Moncada and Luis Robert Jr., but Despaigne, he is a mainstay. He's absolutely destroyed Japanese pitching, and here he is, still going strong in this Cuban national team, facing off against Matt Harvey. Been waiting a long time, Tyler, to watch this guy put on the Italian uniform.
And if you were just tuning in and did not know that Matt Harvey was on this roster, you're thinking, wait a second, that Matt Harvey? And it is indeed that Matt Harvey, who is trying to make a comeback in his baseball career and deals the first pitch ball down to Yoelki Skiber. Matt Harvey, just 33 years old, and a guy who was one of the most electric arms in all of baseball in the middle part of the last decade. Got 2013 NL All-Star recognition, started that game at Citi Field, finished 4th in the Cy Young voting, missed all of 2014 rather, due to Tommy John surgery. Returned in 2015, National League Comeback Player of the Year. We all remember him, the All-Star or in the World Series against Kansas City, demanding to go out for the 9th inning with Terry Collins. I mean, that is still as indelible a baseball memory as one can create, and it didn't end up working out for him that game, but man, what a baseball life Matt Harvey has led as he gets a leadoff out to left. Yeah, what a journey this guy has been. You mentioned some of the numbers since bursting on the scene in 2012. And this scouting report, it's going to be interesting. We're going to get more of a scouting report, more of an updated scouting report. You look at this low 90s, we're already seeing 88, 89 on the fastball, but when this guy is at his best, you mentioned too, he's only 33 years old. He can command 3 pitches, fastball, slider, and the changeup. The occasional curveball with some good run. You're hoping as you're watching him pitch, and again, I love these stories, guys who are, and make no mistake too, this is not a situation, this is not a swan song where he's just having that one last hurrah with Team Italy, some fun with his buddies. No, no, no. This is a huge platform for him because he is trying to get back to that same stage he was on. You mentioned, Tyler, in those World Series games, starting the All-Star game at Citi Field. So if you're a Mets fan waking up to breakfast right now, you turn on the TV and go, hold on a minute. Former 7th overall pick in 2010 out of the University of North Carolina. Going to work against Yoan Moncada, who laces one the other direction. That'll hang out there for Sal Frelick, who's gotten some early work in. 2 up and 2 down, and 2 down and outs in the air that direction.
And this might be something too when you watch a Matt Harvey, when you talk about the same velocity numbers, it might creep up to 90s, 91s, 92s as he settles in. You see that a lot. He's pitching some big games, maybe some nerves kicking around. But man, he has pitched on the biggest stage, obviously the World Series, pitching in New York. See a changeup right there.
Pitch into Luis Robert, a called strike. Luis Robert Jr., Chicago White Sox star. Grounder out too short. And fielded out there with the shift on by actually second baseman Miles Mastrobuoni, who gets to the first, and that will retire the side. A quick and quiet first inning of work in the World Baseball Classic for Matt Harvey. We're headed to the second in a scoreless game. Well, last fall in Italy, members of this roster got a chance to travel to the nation of their family's ancestry, meet up with their manager, Mike Piazza, some other members of this staff. Vinny Pasquantino actually took a little extra side trip off to the end with detour to London. You might have seen that last picture and thought, wait a minute, that's what? Buckingham Palace. What? Did they move that? That's in Rome now? No, it's not. He went to London at the end. But so many members of this roster traveled over to Italy to meet up with Mike Piazza, and that contingent the Italian Baseball Federation referred to as Mission Classic, and it was essentially to engender some camaraderie between these guys who had not played together, didn't know a lot about each other, and I think maybe more than anything, didn't know a lot about their roots. And we talked with Vinny Pasquantino about this the other day. So are you more interested in your Italian side of the family now that you are playing for this team and that you're part of this group? He said, oh, absolutely. That's something that I've started to research. I've started to learn a lot more about. It's on his father's side. His grandparents hugely impressed by the fact that he's playing for Italy. And these are all the guys who were on that trip.
And that's quite the recruiting trip. You know, you talk to guys like Mike Piazza and some of these countries that they work so hard to get the best players that they seek out when you're talking about who has an Italian passport, who's got Italian parents, you know, what's the lineage there, and what better way to take them for a trip to Italy and sipping espresso and kicking the soccer ball around.
Vinny said his favorite moment was in Tuscany. They went to a vineyard together, the whole group as a team. They got to have dinner in the vineyard and just felt like it was one of those moments. What? I'm here? Baseball brought me here? How is this possible?
It was funny too. We asked Vinny, we said, hey, listen, like when you were walking around the streets and you told people you were a baseball player, did they have any clue who you were? He's like, no idea.
He said I think he said it was a cab driver, asked him what he was doing there, and he said, oh, I'm here for baseball. And he said, oh, we're terrible at baseball.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is not true, by the way. Italy has had as much success as any European nation. They've won tons of European championships. They've played in the Olympic Games. They've played, obviously, in the World Baseball Classic, and have had a lot of success. They've been in the Premier 12 tournament as a swing and a deep drive down the right field line, hooking and foul. Brett Sullivan, the San Diego Padres prospect, blasting that one out.
Well, that ball was crushed, just cutting away from that foul pole by about 2 feet. This is an 0-2 pitch as well. We talked about this with Elias. One issue he has had in staying in the major leagues, yeah, he can get to 0-2 just fine, but it's what he does when he gets there. Has a tough time putting guys away. He tries to be a little bit too cute, a little too fine. That pitch is right over the plate.
Sullivan gets this one off the end of the bat, out into shallow right, falling in a hurry, but Yoelqui Bear is able to get to it. And the leadoff man is gone. So that will send it to David Fletcher, a guy who you have seen a lot of in the American League West.
Yeah, extreme contact hitter. He's extremely aggressive, but he has been an absolute pest. I haven't got the numbers in front of me. I'll have to pull them up. But what he's done against the Seattle Mariners over the last couple of years, that's just his style. He swings a ton just like that.
And drives this one to shallow left, and that'll get down, and it gets past Cespedes. That's going to turn into extra bases for Fletcher as David slides in with a one-out double.
And as advertised, what you're used to seeing, he will swing at literally every pitch. If it's around the plate, he is going to be swinging at it. That's his style. That's how he gets it done. That's how he stays in the major leagues.
This is an overused term in sports, but it really does apply to somebody like him. He's a throwback.
Right.
We live in an age now where exit velocity and launch angle and all of that is so important, but there is still room for a guy who can create a lot of contact and get on base in a variety of ways. And David Fletcher putting himself in scoring position. And first pitch swinging, a foul from Nicky Lopez, who spoils one off to the third base side. It is no balls and a strike. Nicky Lopez, another guy who's a prime example of, yes, not an Italian last name, but a guy who has just as much Italian heritage as anybody. He tweeted on November 9th of last year after being named to this roster. He said, quote, yes, my last name is Lopez. My mom is 100% Italian. Dad has some Italian as well. Family in Italy, ancestors from Italy. Now we can move on. And another Kansas City Royals corner infielder who, along with Vinny Pasquantino, bookends this infield for Italy.
Yeah, a little bit of a dip in production with the Royals last year. One thing he struggled with, situations like this, runners in scoring position, 162, just not getting it done. David Fletcher out there at second base. Just a big moment. Get in front of this Cuban team.
Tapper back to the mound, won't get the run home, but it will advance David Fletcher to third. So with 2 outs, we'll bring up Ben DeLuzio.
And Tyler, we saw, when we've seen this even in the lead up to this, Cuba has had a tough time offensively getting going. We know about some of the production and some of the bats they got in that lineup. It's important for Italy, a couple runs early so they can take a breath. First game of the WBC.
It's crazy when you take a 30,000-foot view of the World Baseball Classic. You said a minute ago, this is a big at bat, and that really is the case in the second inning of a game. You know, when you're doing a Mariners game in June this season, you're not often going to look at an at bat in the second inning and think, oh, it's a big at bat. that ball scoots away, but holding at third. David Fletcher keeping himself safe. But
yeah, and we saw that in the game today too. Just the fact that Didi Gregorius in the middle of that lineup is laying a bunt down. You know, in a situation where you can, obviously the way they do it now, it's all about driving in and getting on base. This ball just not getting away far enough for David Fletcher to scoot in there, score that first run of the game.
Yeah, Gregorius laying a sacrifice bunt down that enabled Xander Bogaerts to score an insurance run on a wild pitch, and nearly a run coming in on a wild pitch here. 1-0 on the way to DeLuzio, trying to come through with 2 outs, and that one down into the dirt as well. Ben DeLuzio, drafted by the Miami Marlins in the 3rd round in 2013. And went on to Florida State, later signed with the Arizona Diamondbacks, played with the D-backs until 2021, moved on to the St. Louis Cardinals, and made his major league debut playing in 22 games. And a fly ball to left. Cespedes puts it away, inning over. David Fletcher with a 1-out double, but left to board. We're going to the bottom of the 2nd in Ty Jung.
And we've talked about Matt Harvey, the journey he's been on, the success, the setbacks. Let's take a look at his pitch arsenal now. Let's not forget, this is 2021. One thing that stands out to me, look at that 4-seam usage, 34%, batting average 319, but more sinkers, more secondary pitches. Look, he had a 6.27 ERA in 2021. And one thing that stands out as well is the fastball velocity. He broke into the major leagues. He was 96. He had that dip once he started dealing with some injuries, but down to 94. And has plummeted since then. That's one big key. And we talked about it in the first inning. You're looking at 88 right now. So he's 88, 89. He did flush a 90. I think, too, you've got to remember something, too, Tyler, for this entire roster with Italy, especially Matt Harvey. This is game number 1. We've already covered 3 games. You forget. It's sometimes just when you're trying to get to game speed, you start speeding up down that mound. You might start to see some 90s, 92s. We shall see.
First World Baseball Classic at bat in 2023 for Alfredo Despaigne, and the longtime Cuban veteran bounces out to short as David Fletcher puts him away, and the leadoff man is gone. 4 straight retired by Matt Harvey to begin this game.
One thing, though, that is a positive sign. We talk about the velocity, you can talk about that all you want, but still has that really good movement on that ball. Really good ground ball rate, good run. See these Cuban hitters just pounding the ball into the ground. Again, when you start to lose some of that velocity, we've talked about this with some of these aging pitchers that we see pop back up at the World Baseball Classic. They have to start changing what they do, that repertoire, that strategy.
First pitch here for a strike to the left fielder, Yoenis Cespedes, out of the 5-hole. Cespedes yesterday getting the nod. He got bumped up actually to the cleanup spot with the absence of Despaigne from the lineup, and he was 0 for 2 with a couple of walks. We got one fantastic uniform note for this broadcast from Patrick O'Connell, who is the Team Italy U.S. press officer. He told us that these Italy jerseys, this is the first time that Italy has gone with this dark blue alternate jersey, and it was part of their uniform complement here for the 2023 Classic, but they're wearing the dark blue in tribute to the Dark Knight, because Matt Harvey is such a well-liked guy with this group. Patrick O'Connell told us everybody just gravitates to Matt Harvey. He's been great with all the young guys. Obviously, a ton of experience to pass along.
Yeah, that speaks volumes. When you have someone like Matt Harvey, you know about some of the things he's had to deal with throughout his career. When you hear about from their, from the sources talking about what such a good guy he is, how he's a part of this group. He's not someone who's coming in just trying to platform himself to get back in the major leagues. He is all in. He's bought in. He's been had a huge impression on some of these younger pitchers.
And he retires a former Mets teammate in Yoenis Cespedes on the ground out. So 2 gone, and that brings up Arizbel Barbaro Arrobarena. Arrobarena, in his pro career, went by Arizbel. His first name is actually Barbaro. It's Barbaro Arizbel Arrobarena. But I've noticed that his manager, Armando Johnson, writes Barbaro on the lineup card every day. So we wanted to throw them both out there. I also have a uniform hot take for you as it pertains to the World Baseball Classic.
What do you got?
You know me. You know how nerdy I am with all these uniforms. I like the Italy hats. Everybody dunks on the Italy hats. I like the Italy hats. They're simple. They're fine.
I'm on it.
I like the eye. It reminds me of, you know, it's a column, a Roman. Maybe it could be a little bit more inventive. There's a look at it. I like it. I like it.
I like this pitch as well. Look at that. They had a good break from Matt Harvey. On some of that vintage form.
Here comes the 0-2 from the Dark Knight, and that's up high. 1-2. Matt Harvey cracked a joke to a teammate the other day. They were asking him about the Dark Knight nickname, and he said, yeah, they might have to start calling me the Gray Knight now.
Hey, you know that he's not that old. He's
No.
like he's 40 plus.
Yeah. 33.
Early 30s? Yeah, come on. There's still plenty left in the tank. As we shall see as he tries to carve through this Cuban lineup.
Believe me, it takes like, you get to 35, and that's when all the color starts going. Once that beard and the, maybe in Matt Harvey's case, the mustache starts going gray, then you can switch the nickname. Still going strong, though. 2-2 pitch upcoming from Harvey. 3 balls and 2 strikes, so patient at bat here for Arrubarena. Ah, Horn Guy is back. I don't know if you noticed. There he is. He became a social media star yesterday. A 2-out walk issued to Arrubarena.
And this is the first we've seen Matt Harvey showing some frustration. Trying to land that little cut fastball at 86. You get back through the years, though. I mean, no one in Pool A has pitched in bigger games than that man right there. World Series in 2015. Here's that 2015 World Series. Remember that pitching staff too. Matt Harvey, Noah Syndergaard, Jacob deGrom burst on the scene. It was led by this guy right here. Bill. Remember this too. When they go back out for the 9th inning. Terry Collins said, "Oh."
Back up the middle, David Fletcher will put away Lorenzo Quintana. And that does it. 3 groundouts, all to Fletcher. And we're headed to the top of the 3rd in a scoreless game in Taichung. One of the all-time legendary national team programs in international baseball is that of Cuba. And in the first iteration of the World Baseball Classic, they played befitting that, made it all the way to the final, loss to Japan. Since then, not what Cuba has been striving for, eliminated in the 2nd round in each of the last 3 classics. You see those numbers against Japan and the Netherlands, 2-8. But a reshaping of this Cuba roster in 2023 with major leaguers added to the squad for the first time. And we're only on day 2. This may be a must-win for Cuba, because if you fall to 0-2 and you're behind, 2 games behind the group leader in the Netherlands and a game behind an opponent that you potentially would lose to tonight in Italy, the first tiebreaker among 2 teams that are tied in this World Baseball Classic format is head-to-head. You cannot afford to drop another one.
Yeah, and the offense has just really been a non-factor.
Mastroboni shoots this one out over the head of Cespedes and down off the wall in left. It's a leadoff double out of the 9 spot for the Tampa Bay Rays second baseman, Miles Mastroboni, and another man in scoring position for Italy here in the 3rd.
Yeah, you talk about that Cuban offense being a non-factor already in just these first couple games, but what about Team Italy? There's been some good contact spraying all over the field. Continues to. Some good pitches to hit. They look loose in the batter's box. But going back to Team Cuba, I think 2006, the first World Baseball Classic, it's kind of like that crossroads, because all of a sudden now you have major leaguers who can now represent their country essentially. The Olympics. I represented Australia in the 2004 Olympics. Well, United States, you can't have the best players representing the United States because they're all playing Major League Baseball. But I think 2006, sort of presented a crossroads for Team Cuba, because all of a sudden, like you mentioned yesterday, you made a great point, kind of like the Soviets when you talk about the hockey. it's real similar. Now all of a sudden, there's a new era of Cuban baseball because all of a sudden now you can have these major leaguers coming back. So I think that the next step for them is for guys like that, Luis Robert Jr., to have a good experience here and win, get onto those final rounds so they can start recruiting, getting those best players from Cuba to come back and represent their country.
Armando Johnson was very admirably open and gracious with us with his time the manager of this Cuba team. There are obviously so many things at play, and it is not easy to get all of these players together, to piece this roster together, to balance the dynamic with these guys. And Armando Johnson really just looked at it as, hey, we hope that this opens doors for Cuban baseball, where our guys can come back, they can play for their country, that this is something that bridges the players who have left the island with where Cuban baseball is currently on the island. And according to state media in Cuba, over 650 homegrown players have defected in recent years. But Cuba continues to have a lot of success at the younger levels. And we were talking about this yesterday in their game against the Netherlands. Cuba went to the U15 Baseball World Cup final against the United States last year, had that game tied very late. And just look at the talent that could have been on this roster that isn't. This team would be as favored as any other team in this World Baseball Classic.
I've said this many times, that they're playing internationally or even watching the World Baseball Classic. Could you imagine if Cuba had the ability to have this list of players that you're looking at? I mean, the depth is so big. Elias with a big strikeout and a big out with the guy on deck, Vs Pasquantino, early in this game.
Man, fired up after that strikeout.
Just trying to get some kind of jolt of energy with this Cuban team. As the changeup stays up in the strike zone, one thing we talked about early with Elias makes that changeup so good is that arm speed. This looks like a mistake. The best changeups in the game, I tell kids this all the time, don't try and command that changeup on either side of the plate. Make it look like a mistake. Make that changeup look like a mistake, throw it as hard as you can, let that arm speed get that hitter kind of Trevor Hoffman-esque, and you're going to get a ton of swings and misses.
First pitch up high to the Italian Nightmare, Vs Pasquantino. Vinny hails from Richmond, Virginia. Played his college ball at Old Dominion, as we noted a little while ago, and now on the verge of true MLB stardom as part of that next wave of talent to hit Kansas City. As if the city of Kansas City needs more young athletes to be excited about. Winning Super Bowls, graduating all these great prospects for the Royals. It is a fun time to be a fan in Kansas City. Pasquantino takes that one away.
Yeah, it's a tough combination. You got 2 outs right here. You got 45 pitches if you're Elias, but you have to be so careful. Tough guy to strike out too. 11% strikeout rate last year. MLB average was 22%.
Miles Mastrobuoni, that leadoff double to left. He smoked that ball out over Yoenis Cespedes. And nearing 50 pitches, Yoenis Elias trying to get out of the third. 2-1.
Good pitch. That's tough to do. We talked about the swing and miss rate and the strikeout rate from Vs Pasquantino. Get back into the count. 2-1 count right here. Able to throw that big sweeping breaking ball.
Elias ready, 2-2 pitch. Pasquantino, a drive to right, and tailing, but Russian is there to put it away. So Italy threatens in the second and the third, and leaves men on in both. We are moving to the bottom of the third inning here in Taichung, a scoreless ball game between Italy and Cuba. Let's take a look back at the days when the Dark Knight ruled Gotham. Matt Harvey got the nod to start the 2013 All-Star Game at home at Citi Field in New York City. Checking out a former guest in the World Baseball Classic booth for us, Adam Jones, at the tail end of that highlight reel. Matt Harvey, I mean, the electricity that he brought to New York in those starts for those few years, unparalleled. And he has been really, really good to get this game started for Italy. He's retired 6 of the first 7 men he's faced as Yadira Drake leads off here in the 3rd.
Now, it's amazing how quickly he got to that level where you're starting the All-Star game. Literally, only his first full year, 2013.
It's a ball through the shift, up the middle on the right side of the infield as Italy had Yadira Drake played to pull it, and he's got the first hit of the day for tonight's home team, Cuba.
His dugout fired up, trying to get some offense generated. You just have that feeling, though, Tyler, where you've watched these guys so much, and we saw them yesterday with just the lack of offense. You just feel like at some point they're just going to absolutely break out. Nothing you can do about that. Sitting against the shift.
So now it's Yadil Mujica's turn. And a throw back in behind Drake, who is there safely. Yadil Mujica yesterday, out of the 9 spot in the order, same spot as today. He doubled to drive in the first run of the game for Cuba. Went down the right field line to plate Yoelqui Escobar all the way from first. Gave his team a lead that they could not hold on to. And later, drove in Cuba's second and final run of the day on a 4-3 groundout in the 7th inning. Thinking of bunting for a base hit, fouls that away.
Yeah, this is kind of that in between, that trying to bump for a base hit, but as well, get your guy in scoring position when you turn that lineup over. Now he's in the count 0-2. That's where you want that Matt Harvey, that changeup of circa 2013, that big breaking ball to come alive right here.
Short lead away at first for Drake. Harvey deals on 0-2.
He's leaning heavily on that little cut fastball. Maybe that could be a slider too. Something he's trying to get that feel for. Not a ton of movement. That ball's kind of spinning. That was a big separator for him. He knew about the curveball, the changeup, but then he had that tight slider we saw in that highlight package just earlier in that World Series in 2015. That's a pitch he's got to get that feel for and get it out of the middle of the plate.
0-2 left side, that's through. First and second on back-to-back hits to start things out of the 8 and 9 spots for Cuba. We'll go back to the top of the order with nobody out in the 3rd.
This is a result of that. I just mentioned, get the ball away from the middle of the plate with 2 strikes. This time a fastball middle. Just too much plate on the guy. A 9-hole hitter who, that's a must out when you get the top of that lineup on deck.
Yadil Mujica has been really productive in the first game plus now for Armando Johnson out of that 9 spot. Horn guy's happy.
He's still sitting there.
Different hat today also.
Yeah, he's got a whole closet full of those things.
First pitch, bunt down, out in front of the plate. Barehand pick up by Brett Sullivan, who's able to get the out at first. 2-4 goes that put out. Sacrifice bunt for Yoelqui Escobar, and now you set it up for Yoan Moncada, Luis Robert Jr., and if those guys can make something happen, Alfredo Despaigne and Yoenis Cespedes.
Yeah, and the bunt, you get your leadoff hitter at the top of your lineup, laying a bunt down. That's how desperate you are for offense, too. Now you got a chance in the middle of your lineup. These are some big moments for Matt Harvey here for Team Italy.
2 runs on just 3 hits yesterday for Cuba. Mound conference to talk things over here. Matt Harvey in his infield. By the way, they're in the top of the 5th inning at the Tokyo Dome, and somewhat of a surprising score. Just a 3-0 lead for Japan over China. Japan has left 10 men on base through its first 4 innings offensively.
Now that is all in. When you're representing your country, you got the Italian flag spikes. I like it.
So 2nd and 3rd now. The first pitch to Yoan Moncada is ball 1.
I used to rock the Australian flag spikes, Tyler. No, I wasn't that flashy to you right now. I wish.
I would have figured you did.
The green and gold with the kangaroo on the side of it.
I'd go for that.
Yeah.
This is quite a spot for Matt Harvey to test himself in as he deals to Yoan Moncada, one of the star bats in this lineup.
There's that breaking ball too. Talked about that pitch. He was throwing that little cutter / slider at the moment. 85. Well, this is 83 with more depth. Man, if he can get that pitch working this last part of his pitch count, he'd be in good shape.
Moncada 0 for 3 with a walk yesterday. Here's the 1-1. 2-1. Look inside the Cuba bullpen. That is Jose Rodriguez. Hitters count for Yoan Moncada. Luis Robert Jr. waiting in the on-deck circle. Harvey ready, 2-1. And it was punched foul the other way.
And he challenged him. Fastball 90 middle. It's a pitch Moncada wish he had back. This is a fastball center cut. Probably the best pitch he's going to get this entire at bat.
Two balls and 2 strikes. Now it's full. A good block back there by the Padres prospect Brett Sullivan.
Again, another break ball. This one sharp, that good depth. Getting out of the middle of the strike zone.
Big pitch coming up here for Matt Harvey. And we'll do it again on 3-2.
That time a changeup.
Matt Harvey 3 outs in a row to start this game in the first. Retired the first 2 men he saw in the second as well. 6 of the first 7. 4 of those on the ground. Only issued a 2-out walk in the second, and now trouble here in the third. 3-2. Moncada in the air, left side. Long run over there for Nicky Lopez, and in front of the warning track, he's able to post up and make a grab.
That's a big out. Well, with no base as well, getting a chance to get back in the count for Matt Harvey. These are those moments too when you, in this situation, yes, we've seen some of the success he's had 2012 to 2014, 15, along those years, but you second guess your stuff. What I mean by that is, you know you have to make a big pitch, and your body says, you know what, hey, we're good here. Let's attack. Let's attack this hitter. We're going to get a swing and miss. And then your brain kind of says, oh, man, I've been through quite the journey where that just hasn't been the case of late. So you start second guessing what pitch to throw. There's going to be plenty of this too, these mound visits where you talk things over and really try and come up with a good plan, because this is the heart of the order where you have to be so careful with these Cuban bats.
So with 2 out, it remains second and third for Luis Robert Jr. First pitch from Harvey to the Chicago White Sox center fielder. High for ball 1.
All Luis Robert's thinking about right now is to see something in the middle of the plate. He's going to be swinging here. If he sees something in the middle of the plate.
There it is, and he bounces it out to short. Quick and clean pick by David Fletcher, and Vinny Pasquantino doing the stretch on the back end as Matt Harvey wriggles out of the jam. Second and third, 1 out, does no damage. A terrific play by Fletcher and Pasquantino to team up for the final out of the third. Terrific first 2 innings for Matt Harvey. Ran into some trouble in the third and able to get out of it by inducing a ground out to short. How about the passion from these guys? You think this World Baseball Classic doesn't mean anything to somebody like Matt Harvey? That fist pump and then off into the dugout on the third base side. Handshakes, high fives all around. Seems like his night is probably done.
Yeah. Yeah, you see how fired up he is in that tight spot. It's been a while since you've been on a big stage where the games really mean something. Make that pitch, you get that execution, see the ball get hit on the ground.
Let me ask you this question. If you work in a major league front office, you're looking for some depth pieces, you're looking for somebody who can be a weapon for you. What does that outing from Matt Harvey tell you?
Well, I think a couple things. Yeah, number one, you want to see what he does in between pitches too. Look, it's one thing to watch this game if you're watching this back in the United States and you eat breakfast and drinking your coffee, watching Matt Harvey pitch, and like, oh, he's 88, 89. Okay, that's one thing. Let's not forget it is the month of March. This guy has been so in tune with the fact that month of February, March is working into a season to work into April. So you put that aside. You watch what he does in between pitches. What kind of poise, what kind of presence does he have? How does he back up? If he makes a tough pitch, and this is put my scouting hat on here, if he you know, hangs a slider or a breaking ball or a changeup, whatever it is, how does he react to that? All these little things. And then obviously the health, some of the health issues he's had, you want to make sure you get that clean report, clean bill of health from him. And give the guy a chance. That velocity will get up. 92s, 93s for sure once you get into April, May. You mentioned early too, Tyler, the fact that Matt Harvey, look, he's had so much success early in his career, and then team after team, a lot of them have been that team that's like, you know what, we're going to fix him. We're going to turn his career around. We're going to resurrect Matt Harvey. But look, he's only 33. Look good tonight.
That was St. Louis Cardinals prospect Andre Palante throwing in the Italy bullpen. In the air on the infield. Dominic Fletcher flew out to center, and Brett Sullivan will pop out to Yohan Moncada. So 2 gone.
Now on the flip side too, you're watching a guy like Elias. If you're the Cubs, you're going to think to yourself, wow, we have a nice depth piece right here. Signed that minor league deal with the Chicago Cubs. We'll find his way back to the big leagues somehow when you're a lefty with 3+ pitches. He's looked good too, only 54 pitches right now. He's going to go all the way to 65.
Since that leadoff double by Miles Mastrobuoni last inning, 5 straight retired by Elias, 7 of the last 8 as well. 1-0 pitch to David Fletcher, there for a called strike to put the count even. Left side, speared out there by Arrugarena. 3 up, 3 down, goes Italy here in the 4th. We're headed to the bottom of the 4th inning. Pitchers surging inside jump.
And Tyler, we've got our first look at Matt Harvey in that Team Italy uniform. He looked good. I thought he had that fastball, he had that good run on the fastball. The velocity wasn't back, obviously not getting back to that mid-90s, but you see him fired up. The biggest thing, the biggest takeaway watching Matt Harvey and what we're going to see if Italy do advance in the next round. Obviously, he's going to get more pitches to work with, but just that big moment, making those big pitches against some tough outs in the middle of that lineup.
Finishing his night on an exclamation point with that ground out from Luis Robert Jr. And as we move into the bottom of the 4th inning, the St. Louis Cardinals, Andre Palante will take over on the pitcher's mound. Palante made his big league debut April 10th of last year against the Pittsburgh Pirates after earning a spot on the Cards opening day roster. Made 10 starts. Also worked in relief last year for the Cardinals. First pitch on the way to a WBC legend, and welcome back Alfredo Despaigne, who missed out yesterday after feeling some discomfort taking swings, and he goes after the first pitch that he sees from Andre Palante. He serves a broken bat single into center.
Get a chance to see Palante. You mentioned the fact he's a prospect making his debut with the Cardinals. Upper 90s fastball. You're going to see plenty of that, but this is nothing new to this Cuban national team. They can handle the gas, that is for sure.
So with the leadoff man aboard on the first pitch, it brings up Yoenis Cespedes. Cespedes grounded out to short, the last of the first 5 outs in a row recorded by Harvey, and the only out here is going to be on the lead runner, Despagne. That was a tricky play for Miles Mastrobuoni. He was shifted to the third base side of the bag, so trying to come in and make the play there, he had to cut across the bag. Couldn't flip it to a shortstop there to get the out on the lead runner. Ended up kicking it.
Yeah, it's a tough play because you're kind of coming in. You know, Despagne's kind of coming at you. You saw him take his eye off the ball just for a second, but able to recover and get that lead out. Looked up, seeing Despagne running at him. Plenty of time to Despagne. You're going to get down that line. Now, one thing with Palante, ability to do that, get ground balls all day long. 63% ground ball rate. That's a ground ball double play. Quick inning.
6-4-3 wraps up the fourth. Real quick frame for Andre Palante as we go to the fifth in Ty Jones.
You're reminiscing at 3 in the morning in Taiwan. This is insane. I'm about to play 4 baseball games at least for Mike Piazza, Hall of Famer, one of the best players in baseball history. Now it's 2023, and I'm in freaking Taiwan about to play for the country of Italy in the World Baseball Classic.
Love it. In the robe, too, dealing with some jet lag.
Nobody's having more fun than the Kansas City Royals' Vinny Pasquantino.
You think he regrets doing that tweet or the Instagram, whatever that was?
No, absolutely
not.
not. I don't think Vinny Pasquantino regrets anything in life.
That's right.
I think he's a guy who just enjoys every moment that he is on this planet. As a bouncing ball over to first will turn into the first out of the fifth inning.
Has Mike Piazza seen that? That's the big question. Like, is he a little bit... Well,
you know, I believe that Mike Piazza has... I don't know if he's got a Twitter account. I think he's got an Instagram account.
Did he at Mike Piazza on the post?
Hey, Skip. Wanted to give you a heads up.
That's why he has to give
me a retweet.
3 feet of distance right here from his manager, Mike Piazza.
I did notice as we had that shot of Vinny Pasquantino walking up to the top step of the dugout, he's wearing a chain that seems to have a Sasquatch on it around his neck. We said one of his other nicknames is Pasquatch. Pretty great. But man, he is just an effusive, very likable young guy. As Nicky Lopez the first out. There it is.
There it is.
Pasquatch.
You're right.
I guess it's a little more difficult to come up with a chain that would depict Italian nightmare.
That's true.
Not nearly as easy. Swinging a drive. Ben DeLuzio out to left. Yoenis Cespedes back to the track. Nearly at the track. Hauls it in. And 2 gone. Italy, some real tough sledding offensively against Yoenis Elias since that double by Miles Mastrobuoni out of the 9 spot in the third. That is now 8 straight retired.
Look at this. In the 5th inning with these tight pitch restrictions, these limits, 65, that's the max in this first round. Goes to 80 in the quarterfinals and then 95 in the championship round. But look at Elias. And how efficient has he been? 2 outs, has a chance to get through 5.
We have not seen anybody get through 5 to start this World Baseball Classic as of yet. Remember, Yoenis Elias has not started a game in the major league since 2018. And this is an audition for his new organization, the Chicago Cubs. Quickly, no balls and 2 strikes on Miles Mastrobuoni.
This will be it. Release to see Cuba. No, double barrel right here.
Miguel Cruz, who was a star of the Cuban national team at the U23 Baseball World Cup last year. Pitch down and away.
Yeah, look at these splits. As a starting pitcher, 415. As a reliever, 338. 297. He did break in 2014, 2015 with the Seattle Mariners in the rotation. Made a ton of starts. +3 pitches. Finish this 5th inning.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Miles Mastrobuoni. And a swing and a miss. Matt Harvey grabbing the headlines for obvious reasons, but man, Roenis Elias dominant through 5 innings for Cuba. We head to the bottom of the 5th in a scoreless game at Taichung Intercontinental. Welcome back to the 2023 World Baseball Classic with former Major League pitcher and 2-time World Baseball Classic veteran Ryan Rowland-Smith. My name is Tyler Mon here in Taichung, Taiwan at the Intercontinental Baseball Stadium for our continuing coverage of Pool A. How about the night for Roenis Elias getting a big hug from his manager Armando Johnson. Didier Drake as well. A lot of teammates in that first base dugout thrilled with the performance they got. You couldn't ask for anything more, quite literally, from a guy like Roenis Elias tonight in his first start on a stage like this since 2018.
Yeah, he was absolutely outstanding. And let's not forget, too, he is one of these major leaguers who's come back to represent Cuba. So I guarantee you a lot of emotion putting that Cuban uniform on. And then turning out 5 innings with 65 pitch limits. Unbelievable. That 3 pitches working. Change-up, that breaking ball.
Just a 3-pitch inning last inning for Italy reliever Andre Palante from the St. Louis Cardinals. He has already matched that total on pitch number 3 of this at-bat to Lorenzo Quintana. Leadoff single by Alfredo Despaigne on the first pitch he saw last
for Andre Palante. He talked about the prospect status. He did make his debut this year, but mid to upper 90s fastball. He's got that really high spin rate on that pitch. But in saying that, he has the ability to get the ball on the ground. 60% ground ball rate. Really big curveball as well.
Got a grounder from Yoenis Cespedes, then got the double play ball off the bat of Arrubarena to end the inning. Lorenzo Quintana, the first man in to see him here in the 5th, working this count to 2-2. Lorenzo, the catcher out of Pinar del Rio. Two up and in.
There's that big break ball.
Is down for ball 4. So Quintana, a leadoff walk.
And you look at Mike Piazza right now, how he's kind of structuring this bullpen. It is a nothing game. So who they roll out there tomorrow to start the game depends heavily on how they do tonight. If they get that win or that loss, it's going to determine who we're going to see tomorrow as a starting pitcher. But let's not forget too, Tyler, Matt Harvey, we put so much emphasis on his first outing. He is underneath the 50 pitch threshold, therefore he can come back at the end of this pool play. Still available.
The guy you saw to Mike Piazza's left in that last shot, the right of your screen, that's Blake Butera, who is the bench coach on this Italy coaching staff. You see Blake, the young guy on the right of your screen. Blake Butera is one of the most highly touted young managers in baseball. Now has graduated from the manager. Sacrifice bunt will push Lorenzo Quintana to second base. Blake Butera, a 2-time minor league manager of the year, and a guy who in that Rays organization is thought of as being, justifiably and rightly so, one of the brightest minds in baseball. But look at all this baseball experience on this roster. Kristen Norfield, likewise a minor league manager. He's with AA Hartford and the Colorado Rockies organization. Jason Simatachi, the bullpen coach.
Yeah, Mike Piazza deflected a lot of the coaching attention onto Butera when we talked to him the other day. It's kind of the brains of behind the strategy here, this pool play.
Mike Butera, manager of the Charleston River Dogs last couple of seasons. Now he's the minor league field coordinator for the Tampa Bay Rays, but he led the River Dogs to the Carolina League Championship, something that franchise had never done. And it's not obviously quite as simple in minor league baseball as, well, this team's never been able to build a winner, because you're at the mercy of what parent clubs are sending your way and such. But to take a team to back-to-back titles in the minor leagues speaks a lot to the talent development in the Tampa Bay Rays organization, as well as to his managerial aptitude. And just a really friendly, bright, engaging young guy. He was the youngest minor league manager when he was hired, back with the Hudson Valley Renegades in the old New York Penn League. It was his first managerial stop. Tweet fouled away.
Yeah, I mean, he showed bunt his last at bat as well against Matt Harvey. He got to 2 strikes, and all of a sudden he took the bunt away from him, but able to hit that ball into left field. It's a situation right now where you see Italy's catcher walking out to talk to Palante in this situation. He's got to be away from the middle. He is going to swing. He can throw that 97 in the top of the strike zone and get a swing and miss, get that barrel underneath that ball. I guarantee you this is the conversation.
No balls and 2 strikes on Yadil Mujica.
See if he goes fastball up right here. 97 at the letters. Not even flashing the sign down.
Oh, 2.
Breaking ball.
Pounded out to second. Mastrobuoni gobbles it up. It will advance Quintana to third. Mike Piazza leading this team into Taiwan. This is not Mike Piazza's first time to Taiwan. Back in 1993. A little bit longer hair. Mike Piazza, a member of the Los Angeles Dodgers. He came to Taiwan with his team as part of the International Friendship Series. Tanks all over Taipei.
Still has the goatee. I love it. Yeah, that brings back a lot of memories for me. I grew up in Australia. We only really had access to, and this is pre-internet too. I am going to age myself here a little bit, but we only had access to certain players. Ken Griffey Jr. being one of them, Mike Piazza being one of them.
A guy you faced, by the way, first batter you ever saw in the big leagues, Ken Griffey Jr.
That is true. But you really only had a chance to watch just a handful of superstars. Frank Thomas being another one. But man, I used to try and replicate that swing from Mike Piazza.
Mike Piazza was part of a golden era of gorgeous swings. Ken Griffey Jr. was the guy who I was always trying to be. Backwards hat.
You and every other kid.
Exactly.
That is for
me
sure.
And every other kid. Man, back in the pre-internet era and all that. Was the world in black and white back? What was?
Oh, we had running water electricity. We're good.
Pitch off the glove of Sullivan, and it's 2-1. Back at the top of the order to Yoelki Ski-Bear. It was really cool, though, listening to Mike Piazza talk about that trip here to Taiwan. That was a passion of the late Dodgers owner, Peter O'Malley, who, of course, moved the team from Brooklyn to Los Angeles and was instrumental in a lot of the early stages of international baseball bridge building between Major League Baseball in the United States, Nippon Professional Baseball in Japan, the Korea Baseball Organization, CPBL, of course, the current league here in Taiwan. And Peter O'Malley was always fascinated by the international game. And the Dodgers, I mean, they were the team that really started to bring in talent from places that had never been seen before. Hideo Nomo.
Yeah, he was the big one. I
he
remember
was the one.
Man, when Nomo came in, that Dodgers uniform, that was huge.
3 balls and a strike. on Yoelqui Guibert. A walk to Guibert. So runners at the corners now with 2 gone as we take a look at a little bit more in the career of the legend, Mike Piazza.
Look at that, 308 batting average. You know, you look at some of these numbers, the game's changed so much, and he did mention the other day, he said he is an old school guy. He tries to steer clear of the analytics, especially from a coaching standpoint, but man, some of the numbers he racked up in a Dodgers uniform and then with the New York Mets, legendary.
Thing that is still the most incredible thing to me about Mike Piazza, he was a 62nd round draft pick from Miami-Dade College in Florida. And I mean, that round has not existed for a very long time in a major league draft. But it's not just that he was drafted late, he was essentially just drafted as a favor. Tommy Lasorda, friendly with his father, if I remember that story correctly, and said, yeah, we'll take a flyer on this young guy. And an incredible Hall of Fame career followed as Yoan Moncada batting in a big spot again, as he did in the 3rd inning. He had runners at 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. Here it's 1st and 3rd with 2 gone in a scoreless game in the 5th.
Look at that, 97. Challenging Moncada. He has pitched at the major league level. This is nothing new for him. Palante has that big breaking ball, 3,000 RPM spin. Still want to see him pitch up in the strike zone. Get that swing and miss.
Oh, 2 pitch coming. And Palante buries it. Moncada didn't chase.
That's going to be safety net right there, that big breaking ball. As long as he's out of the middle of the plate. Just get that feeling, man, with 97. That kind of spin, that kind of movement. Defying gravity, get up and pop that barrel. You're going to get a swing and miss right here. Finish his 5th inning.
Palante ready again. Moncada waits. 1-2 pitch is fouled.
Just got to that ball. That was up above the strike zone. This is a huge at bat. We know about Cuba's struggles to try and generate any kind of offense. 5th inning, game 2. Got the middle of your order right up in this situation. Look at the average fastball velocity. He's 95, he's 97 tonight, maybe a little extra adrenaline.
One ball, 2 strikes. Moncada wants an extra moment to think about it. Another big pitch coming up from Andre Palante. 1-2. Foul tipped into the glove of Sullivan for strike 3, and Andre Palante wriggles off the hook again. Terrific work from both pitching staffs, and we're going to the 6th. Nothing across on either side. What a night for Cuba starter Roenis Elias. 5 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. But maybe more impressively, this is a tournament in which you can only throw 65 pitches.
Yeah, Roenis Elias had 3 pitches working in this situation. That big breaking ball, that changeup. Get the 2 strikes, he was messing around a little bit. But as that 4th and 5th inning rolled on, he was dialed in. And what got him was just the pitch count. He could have been pitching all night. He looked good. And like you said, Tyler, the fact he got through 5 with that kind of pitch count, we have not seen that yet. Great effort.
50% whiff rate on that changeup. And already getting the post-game interview over in that first base dugout. Roenis Elias got to be happy with what you saw if you're a Chicago Cubs front office member, as leading things off against the new arm to the game, Jose Rodriguez. Sal Frelick has his first hit of the World Baseball Classic. Welcome to the party for the Milwaukee Brewers, number 2 prospect, and MLB Pipeline's number 30 overall. Base runner to get things started for Italy here in the 6th. That is the first base runner for Italy since the leadoff double by Miles Mastrobuoni in the 3rd.
See Jose Rodriguez coming on. Local has only pitched in Cuba 10 seasons. in the National Series in Cuba.
Fly ball to center. Luis Robert there, one out for Italy.
And you look at this guy again. This is the allure of the Cuban roster makeup. You don't quite know a whole lot about these guys, especially the ones who stay on the island. But you look at this curveball changeup. He's pretty stock standard. He's recovering from Tommy John surgery, but a chance to pitch here for his Cuban national team. Like I said, 10+ years, first chance to get on the national roster.
You may have noticed there, he's got his most recent numbers for the Ganaderos of the Cuban Elite League, and that is not the Cuban National Series. That is a different league, as Pedro Lazo, the pitching coach, out for a word with Jose Rodriguez. Cuban Elite League was created last year, and there is some thought that it may just be a one-run league, but it butts up against the Cuban National Series season, which starts January, February, goes into the spring. That was a late fall, early winter league, and the thought process was that it may have been created to help identify the players to take part in this event, give them a platform to play prior to the World Baseball Classic roster selection. And man, he gets thrown right into the fire against Vinny Pasquantino with a runner on and one out in a scoreless game in the 6th. The first pitch is there to the big guy from the Kansas City Royals for a strike.
What team is going to break out first? So the middle of the lineup come up last inning for Cuba. Now all of a sudden you got Pasquatch coming up here with runners on.
Side through for a base hit. Vinny Pasquantino has his first knock of the Classic, as Sal Frelick will hold at second. And it's first and second, one gone, as Italy tries to get on the board first.
And I'm curious here with Mike Piazza. It's been pretty smooth sailing, but all of a sudden now you have an opportunity, the middle of your lineup coming up, none out, runners on. Do you bunt these two base runners over? You try and go for that one run, knowing this is going to be a close game.
Vinny Pasquantino rifling that one through in the left, 100 miles an hour off the bat. So a big opportunity now for Dominic Fletcher, the Arizona Diamondbacks number 17 prospect. Young guy being trusted in the cleanup spot for Mike Piazza's team.
You got your 4-hole hitter, but I would not be surprised. Tries to lay this bunt down right here. Now let him swing.
Ball one from Rodriguez.
See Rodriguez pitching backwards here. He's not going to give in. Taking plenty of time to see if he shows bunt.
To right, that's down for a base hit. Rounding third base is Frelick. He'll get a late stop sign, and the bases are loaded for Italy. And it was a good thing as well, as Lorenzo Quintana would have had that throw in way more than enough time. But 3 knocks in the inning for a team that had 2 coming into the 6th, and the bases juiced for Brett Sullivan.
That's good. Nice swing right there from Dominic Fletcher. Just walking off maybe sprained his ankle. It's not good. That's not a good sign with your Team Italy or the Kansas City Royals watching back home right now, early morning. Over there in Surprise, Arizona.
Pitching change for Cuba as Pedro Lazo goes to make the move. We'll tell you about the new arm when we return. Vinny Pasquantino thankfully seems to be okay. Sort of waved off some more help from the Italy training staff and stayed in this game. But what a rope a moment ago from Dominic Fletcher to load the bases here in the top of the 6th for Italy.
Yeah, you see his eyes light up. Good compact swing. We talked about the chance of Mike Piazza maybe asking him to bunt, just push the runners over because you haven't got a whole lot happening. Look at Vinny Pasquantino. You kind of hold your breath here if you're in that dugout in Italy, or if you're the Kansas City Royals or a Royals fan. Walk around with that ankle. Looks to be okay, staying in the game.
And the new arm into the game for Cuba is the left-hander Nakel Cruz. Pitched in that Cuban Elite League with Centrales.
Nakel Cruz, one of the younger members of this team. He's only 23 years old. He's the ace of the U23 Baseball World Cup for Team Cuba.
It's just a short distance away from here at Tianmu Baseball Stadium in Taipei at that U23 Baseball World Cup. That was just 6 months ago for Cruz and his Cuba team. And the first pitch on the way is fouled back, and if the netting weren't there, Ryan Rowland-Smith would have made a spectacular catch on that foul ball off the bat of Brett Sullivan. No balls on the strike.
Would have protected you,
thankfully.
To my left.
Sullivan 0 for 2 to start this game. Fly out to right field to lead off the second. A pop out to third base for the second out of the fourth. Those numbers last year, AAA El Paso and the San Diego Padres organization. Ooh. 91 up and in.
So tough in this situation for Brett Sullivan. You're starting to press a little bit. Obviously, it's the sixth inning. You haven't scored a run just yet. You see loaded bases. I'm swinging out of your shoes, but good at bats. You got to make. Put Nakel Cruz on the ropes. He's going to struggle with that command.
The crowd's reaction to that fastball high and tight. Cruz rushing back Sullivan. Digs in again on 1-1. Swing and a fly ball out into right. Moving to the alleyway, Guibert there to put it away. Tagging at third, Sal Frelick will score easily. Pasquantino into third. It's a run-scoring sacrifice fly for Brett Sullivan, and Italy has the lead in the sixth, 1-0.
Not trying to do too much. Brett Sullivan, sac fly is so easy to come swinging out of your shoes when you see a fastball up. Again, just staying within himself for that swing. It's a fastball middle. Just get that ball in the air, in the outfield, get your team on the board. Another thing to look at too here, Tyler, you see Vinny Pasquantino, how's he moving on the bases? Obviously he's going to try and tough it out, but slid into third base as well. Again, this is the meat of your order when you're talking about a guy like Vinny Pasquantino. You want to make sure if he stays in the game, he is healthy. Italy's on the board.
And advancing second to third, important there in that spot for Pasquantino and for Italy. Talked about it in game one. We saw a run come across on a wild pitch as this one popped up. Foul ground first base side, and Yadier Drake able to put away that little flare off the bat of David Fletcher, but Italy has tallied the first one and carries a 1-0 lead to the bottom of the sixth. We've got a lot more coming from Taiwan. More doubleheader action tomorrow for you from Pool A here in Taichung. 12:30 local time tomorrow, 11:30 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. Team Panama will look for the upset win. Maybe not an upset at this stage in this opening round against Luis Robert Jr. and Cuba. And then at 7 o'clock local time, 6 a.m. Eastern in the United States, this Italy team will try its hand against the host squad, Chinese Taipei, in another pivotal round one matchup here at Taichung Intercontinental. Vinny Nizzoli takes over on the pitcher's mound for Italy as we move into the bottom of the sixth, and he's looking to protect a lead. It's 1-0.
Yeah, Mike Piazza with that 1-0 lead. Now go to the back end of his bullpen. Nizzoli, you can see that kind of lower three-quarter arm slot. Steps across his body. 6 years in the minor league system. Big weapon for him is that sweeping slider. He's got to get in good counts to get to that pitch. Stepping towards those right-handed. Here's Mike Piazza. Sitting pretty right now. Sixth inning, 1-0 up against Cuba, who've just got nothing going offensively.
Very relaxed.
Big chances last inning as well.
Relaxed facade, but I would imagine a lot of nerves in that third base dugout for Mike Piazza. Especially with Luis Robert Jr. leading things off. Swing and a miss.
There's that slider. See a high usage of it, around 60–70% of the time. Stepping across the body.
Luis Robert Jr. a slow start through 2 games. 1 for 6 to get things started here in Taiwan. Guy was played a lot of really good games with the Chicago White Sox in his short major league career. He was a runner-up for the American League the Rookie of the Year award back in 2020, the pandemic-shortened season. He's gone on strikes here now, 1 for 7 to start this World Baseball Classic.
Slider is nasty. Not a whole lot you can do with that pitch. We talk about how these guys, and we talked about Matt Harvey early in this game, Elias trying to show up for their organization. But for Natoli, when you throw that pitch to a guy like Luis Robert Jr., you get that big swing and miss, man. That can put you on the map coming out of the minor leagues. Age 32.
Vinny Natoli, originally a draft selection of the Seattle Mariners back in 2014 in the 25th round. 6 different organizations in his professional career. Work against Alfredo Despaigne, who had his first hit of the Classic back in the 4th. First pitch leadoff single against Andre Palante. Fastball powered in there at 91 for strike 1. Coming into the tournament, the all-time home run king of World Baseball Classic history. Alfredo Despaigne with a legendary baseball career in Cuba and Japan. And he really is, when you think about the what-if kinds of guys from Cuba, Alfredo Despaigne is definitely on that list.
Yeah. Been a fixture with that Cuban national team.
Ooh, that was that one back.
See how much that fastball speeds up when you have that big slider in the back of your mind.
Shugo Maki has just left the yard in Tokyo. Japan adding to a very shockingly slim lead over China. It's now 4-1 in that game, the bottom of the 7th. As the 2-2 is up and in on Despaigne. 3 balls and 2 strikes. And a swing and a drive. Deep to left. Frelick chasing it down the line, and that is a foul ball.
Wow. That slider, that ball just sat up. When you throw some good ones early in that bat, ones that look like they should be 2-strike pitches out of the strikes, and then all of a sudden you back it up with a spinner in the middle of the plate. This is what happens. This ball was crushed, just going foul. Trying to Jedi mind trick that ball, stay fair.
3-2, a called strike 3 at the knees at 91. And back-to-back strikeouts to start the night.
And we talked about this early in the at-bat. When you have that slider in the back of your mind, this can freeze you, it can speed you up. And that takes some conviction too. When you're a young pitcher, facing a guy like Despaigne in a game that really matters in the month of March, it takes a lot to throw that pitch to challenge a guy in the middle of this Cuban lineup.
So 2 gone here in the bottom of the 6th, and now Yoenis Cespedes' turn. The first pitch there for a strike to him. Cespedes reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th inning. He is 0 for 2. We grounded out to short in the 2nd. And a grounder out to short again. 1, 2, 3, inning over. Really nice frame of work for Vinny Natoli. And this game goes to the 7th. Italy in the lead, 1-0 over Cuba. Well, all-time in World Baseball Classic history, Italy's got a 5-10 record, but it's a 500 record when you take out the games that Italy has played against Venezuela. 3 of the 4 previous trips for this nation to the WBC, they have been in Venezuela's pool. And in the Classic, 0-5 against Venezuela, 5-5 against everybody else. And tonight, they've got a 7th-inning lead over world powerhouse Cuba here in Taichung.
Yeah, definitely welcome that 14-hour flight across the Taiwan when you look at those numbers. What Venezuela have done against them out of that pool.
Nicky Lopez, the leadoff man here in the top half of the 7th inning. Kansas City Royal 0 for 2 so far, going to work against Nikel Cruz. Cruz came on in a real tough spot last inning, inherited the bases loaded and 1 out. He was able to get the sacrifice fly from Brett Sullivan for the 2nd out of the inning, but it did bring home the game's only run to this point. Then it got a foul out from David Fletcher to end the inning. Italy just once has advanced past this opening round, but a win tonight would be a huge step in the right direction, trying to do it again. Kicks and comes home on 2-1, and a shot through the right side, a base hit. Nicky Lopez kicks off the 7th with a knock. Let's take a rewind to 2017 when Italy played in a tiebreaker game against Venezuela.
And that man, Cole Cabrera, Odor, some big names you're facing this game. Man, I tell you what, Team Italy, yeah, you have that feeling when you're watching this team and you talk about Mike Piazza and what he's trying to do with this program and everything else. You feel like they're kind of new to the scene, but they've been in the thick of it since 2006. Obviously, Mike Piazza playing on that team in 2006 and then having some huge, huge battles with some of the world's best players following that.
Mike Piazza has been on this Italy coaching staff before as well, but never as manager. He did manage this Italian team in the European Baseball Championship last year. We got a pitching change here in the top of the 7th following the leadoff single by Nicky Lopez. We'll tell you about the new arm when we return as Italy tries to build another charge here in the 7th. One place where a lot of Cuban talent has been developing brilliantly in recent years is Nippon Professional Baseball in Japan, and the next arm into the game for Cuba is one of the 3 studs in Nippon Professional Baseball. It's Livan Moinello who takes over here in the top of the 7th with the leadoff man on.
Yeah, he's absolutely nasty. He's got that upper 90s fastball, big breaking ball. And some of the numbers too, man. Look at this. Japanese major leagues, the MPB. See right there, lethal changeup 2022. He still has that breaking ball. And he's got that easy gas 97 at the top of the strike zone.
Livan Moinello, a member of the Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks, a guy who was part of 4 straight Japan Series winning teams with the Hawks, 2017 through 2020. Best relief pitcher in the Pacific League in 2020, along with the holds lead. Selected to the NPB All-Star Game last year. The 2 leagues in Japan, much like the American League and National League, are the Central League and the Pacific League. It's also an Eastern League and Western League. Those are the minor league circuits in Japan. And Moinello, dominant last year. 53 games, a 1.03 ERA, 87 strikeouts against 20 walks and 52 2/3. His first pitch there, a strike to Ben DeLuzio.
We still haven't seen Rodel Martinez yet. We got a chance to see Yariel Rodriguez yesterday.
Ryan, we were talking during the break. The bullpens here in Taichung are underneath the stands. They used to be down the lines, you told us, from your time playing here, they're underneath the stands, which has to leave you as a reliever so divorced from the atmosphere of the game that you're insulated, you're in this kind of concrete bunker, you're not part of the game atmosphere. How weird is that, entering a game coming from a bullpen like that?
Yeah, it's a massive adjustment. I mean, you know, when you're coming out of the bullpen in the major leagues, especially, or even in the minor leagues too, even as a visiting player, usually you're getting heckled, but you can hear the crowd, the noise, get a feel of the temperature, all these little things that really, really matter. There's that big breaking ball too. Look at that. That slider, 90 miles per hour, depth. But yeah, I remember last time I pitched in 2017 in the Tokyo Dome, coming out of that bullpen, it's quiet, you kind of sit in the deck chair, and then you get loose, and then you come out, and the place is just electric. So it's a massive adjustment. And this tells you how much this game means to Cuba. This win, have to go 1-1. You don't want to be in a situation where you're 0-2, bringing out a guy like Munello when you are behind. I know it's a close game, but for Cuba, there is no tomorrow. This is a must-win. It has to stay 1-0.
First pitch on the way to the 9-hole hitter, Miles Mastrobuoni, 96 miles an hour for ball one. This series all time has been tremendously one-sided, but there's a caveat with these numbers. Italy all time against Cuba in international play is 2-35-1. But two of those wins came in the last three matchups against Cuba. These two teams have not seen each other on the international stage at this level since the 2015 Premier 12. Right now, Italy hanging on to a 1-0 lead here in the seventh, out hitting Cuba 6-3.
Cool. That's tough. Look at the depth on that pitch. You got 96 with ease, and then you throw 89 with this kind of depth, left on left. That is tough. You got to think too, if you're a first timer coming to Taiwan, your first World Baseball Classic with your Vinny Pasquantino, or any of these players, you're watching arms like this, you're like, hold on a minute. This is like big league standard. Like, where is this guy from?
1-2. Lifted out to left. Cespedes in pursuit, reaching out on the warning track and can't bring it in. Rounding third base, here comes Nicky Lopez. He's in to score, and Italy doubles its lead. It's 2-0 in the top of the seventh.
Mastrobuoni's guessing correct on that fastball. Selling out and hitting that ball to left field. Cespedes just couldn't quite get it. Probably lost a step or two. Sudden Italy get the second run.
Cespedes had to run a long way for this.
And this is a pitch he's trying to get above that barrel, raise his eye level a little bit. Mastrobuoni guesses right on that pitch. Not sitting back on that breaking ball. Good piece of hitting that ball to left field.
So a 2-0 lead and another man in scoring position as we go back to the top of the order in South Freeland.
You get the feeling too, Cespedes was kind of taken by surprise a little bit. The amount of contact, the amount of exit velo coming off that bat, kind of took that kind of funky route. Just lost that ball.
That is scored as an RBI double for Mastrobuoni. He's out there in scoring position now for Freeland.
And you got Nicky Lopez, who has some speed. You see him pulling up. He's kind of playing that halfway. Sees the ball drop, and he is off to the races. Now, I'll tell you what, with Cuba struggling this much offensively, that is a huge cushion. Getting that second run. Takes the pressure off just a little bit.
One ball and two strikes now on South Freeling. It was Freeling who scored the first run of this game for Italy. That was last inning. Led off with a single. Italy put 3 straight singles together to load the bases with 1 out. Not 3 straight, 3 out of 4 batters. only brought in the 1 run, and he kind of wondered for a little while, man, is that going to be enough? But now adding a run here in the 7th, and a chance to tack on more. Really fouls it away.
I guarantee Manillo, I know he throws 96, 97, but he would love to have that pitch back. He threw that really sharp breaking ball, that slider, 90 miles per hour. Pitch before it. Cespedes is just kind of a weird route to that ball.
Ivan Moinello. Strikeout of Ben DeLuzio, the first man he faced. And then the RBI double, and now a grounder will advance the runner. Let's take a look back. 14 years ago, Yoenis Cespedes in the fog, Japan against Cuba, second round elimination game in San Diego. Tied, scoreless ball game in the 4th inning with 2 outs, and Cespedes losing track of that ball. Had it in the glove, it popped out. Japan scored 2 runs on the way to a 5-0 win, eliminating Cuba. And tonight, a ball off his glove again to bring in a run for Italy. Huge kudos to our crew for bringing that play out of the archives. No balls and a strike on the swing and miss by John Valenti, the Tigers prospect, the designated hitter out of the 2 spot. John 0 for 3 so far tonight, couple of Ks. Man, ever since we saw the run scored on the wild pitch when Xander Bogaerts came home in the 8th inning for the Netherlands earlier today, now every time a runner advances to 3rd, it's in the back of your mind of how important that can be if a pitch gets away, especially with an electric arm like Moinello out there.
Yeah, he's burying that breaking ball. Knocked that ball down. That was huge in the game today. That ball scooting away, getting that 3rd run. Christian Bethencourt letting it get through the wickets.
Valenti able to stay alive on 0-2. Benny Pasquantino seemed like maybe he rolled his ankle running the bases a little while ago. He has stayed out there and in the on-deck circle right now. No worse for the wear. Oh, 2 pitch. Yoenis Cespedes, I mean, we're certainly not dragging him defensively. He's one of the great defensive players of the last decade plus, a former Gold Glove Award winner.
Yeah, look at it. I mean, he covered some serious ground, especially in a Mets uniform.
And that was not an easy play tonight. Ground ball back up the middle. That one out to shortstop, where Ruibarena is able to pull it in and retire Valenti. Italy adds another one, and we take this game into the bottom of the 7th. The visitors with a 2-0 lead over Cuba. Back at Taichung Intercontinental Baseball Stadium, headed to the bottom of the 7th inning. Ryan Rowland-Smith, Tyler Mon. Ryan, we've been treated to now nearly four complete baseball games. The first 2 days of the World Baseball Classic, we have had 3 2-run games to this point. Yesterday, Netherlands outlasting Cuba 4-2. A rout for Panama of Chinese Taipei, a 12-5 win last night, but a 3-1 win for the Netherlands today over Panama, and right now a 2-0 lead for Italy over Cuba as this game heads to the bottom of the 7th.
You see those Netherlands big bats, that superstar infield start to bust out. Jerks and profile went deep to right field. Xander Bogaerts, left field. This Cuban team, just nothing doing tonight. 10 left on base. 3 hits.
Look at these numbers. The last 5 games for Cuba outscored 32-9, including tonight. And this is not what we figured was going to be the case. When you look at this lineup for Cuba, Yoan Moncada, Luis Robert Jr., Alfredo Despaigne, Yoenis Cespedes. This is a really offensive-heavy lineup, and just a group that has not been able to get it together as of yet, as Risbel Arrubarena leads things off. Just 3 hits tonight for Cuba, 3 hits yesterday in the early game in that 4-2 loss to the Netherlands.
They've had opportunities, though. I mean, you look at that, 10 left on base. Matt Harvey got out of a jam. See Palante getting a big strikeout from Yoan Moncada early on in this game. Totally gave up that foul ball home run. The Cespedes came back and struck him out. Excuse me, Despaigne. So they've had moments, just nothing doing.
Vinny Natoli, a terrific 6th inning. 3 up, 3 down with a couple of strikeouts. Trying to get Arrubarena to start the 7th. The 3-2 is tagged to center, and that's down for a base hit, and it gets all the way past Deluzio to the wall. Flying around second base, Arrubarena will dig for 3rd. He's got himself a leadoff triple in the 7th.
Is that the moment? Is this where you're going to start to see a heartbeat in that first base dugout for Cuba?
And holy cow, we may be seeing something that we saw earlier today between Australia and Korea, or had time been called by Serge Makushetev, our 3rd base umpire. Arrubarena left the bag and was tagged, and Italy started celebrating as though he had been called out, and now it seems that we've got an agreement that time had been called. That would have been, I'm not sure how often I've ever seen that. If we saw that happen twice in the same day in the World Baseball Classic, that would be bizarre. Serge Makushetev, the 3rd base umpire, signaling Arrubarena safe.
You can see the 2nd base umpire say, no, I had time on that play. And you can see the 3rd base coach trying to call time here as well. He's
and they are reviewing this right now. So Serge Makushetev was the one who initially made the out call there on Arrubarena. Oh, man. To expound on what we were discussing, Weiji Young, a star slugger for Korea, was tagged out when his foot came off the bag while celebrating in his team's eventual 1-run loss to Australia today. Oh, man. This could be a pivotal moment.
You can't see it in this shot, but the 2nd base umpire, Chris Siegel, he's putting his hands up to say, no, I had time. But maybe he was going off that man right there, the third base umpire, thinking he had called time as well. It's going to be interesting. Now, I'll tell you what, if they overturn this, that Cuban dugout, they absolutely go crazy in this situation. This is a tough one. You did see the 3rd.
So time had been called, and Cuba avoids what would have been a shocking turn of events here in the 7th, and it is a leadoff triple. Wow.
As I was saying, Tyler, before I was interrupted by all the commotion, that may be just that little bit of that jolt of energy that dugout needs down there, that Cuban dugout, to get this offense moving.
Take another look at the play. This line drive out to center that kind of ate up Ben Deluzio. We'll get a look at it after this pitch. Deluzio coming in, that ball was hit so hard, trying to figure out, am I going to have a chance to get this on a line? Do I have to play it back? And it scoots right by him.
Yeah, that's that situation where that ball is probably knuckling a little bit as well. You try and come in, you have a split-second decision. Do I have the chance to actually catch this ball? Is it going to carry all the way to me? Then you realize, nope, no chance. You just have to get your body in front of that ball. But that ball was scorched into center field. Now all of a sudden the horns are cranking. Your old mate down here from Cuba, off his seat, front row.
So the tying run now at the plate for Cuba. And the pitch grounded out through the middle, a base hit, and Cuba is onto the board. An RBI single for Lorenzo Quintana, and it is a one-run game in the bottom of the seventh.
And here comes Cuba. You can see that momentum shift. Now all of a sudden that Italian coaching staff have to make some big decisions. They get a meeting at the mound. For Natoli, talk about that breaking ball. Two things here. Number one, yeah, back before this, if you cannot show that you can get that slider over for a strike, then these Cuban hitters can sit fastball. Or, like in this at-bat, if you're going to cement mix that pitch up in the strike zone, it's going to get hit hard.
No, in that last angle, it almost looked like Miles Mastrobuoni didn't see that ball come off the bat or see where it was headed, and he may have been screened a little bit by Vinny Natoli. He's getting a visit right now from Michael Borzello. But the leadoff triple on the rope to center field by Arruparena, and Lorenzo Quintana coming through. And Ryan, that's one of the weird things sometimes in baseball. It's not Moncada, it's not Robert, it's not Espana, it's not Cespedes. It's the 6 and 7 hole guys coming through.
We saw that yesterday, the first game with the Netherlands. Bottom of that lineup, getting it done. Catch a Chadwick Trump down the bottom of that lineup. It wasn't a Xander Bogaerts. It wasn't a Jurickson profile like it was today.
Look at how much energy is back in that dugout on the first base side.
All of a sudden, heart rate's up. The horns blaring.
Percussion section. Juan Moncada on the Gatorade cooler. 1-1. That was the lefty out of the Tampa Bay Rays organization, Joe LaSorsa, throwing in the Italy bullpen. A lefty in the on-deck circle in Yadier Mujica, so you wonder if Vinny Natoli can't get Yadier Drake, if that's the move. One foul, 1-2.
You got to give this kind of energy. We talk about momentum shifts, but the kind of energy you're seeing down in that first base dugout, you got to give it some context. Let's not forget, you're thinking to yourself, hey, look, you only scored a run, chill out, right? But when you have this, you've been this ice cold. We heard from that man as well, the Cuban manager, how frozen their offense was in the lead up to this tournament. All of a sudden, sometimes you know, and you get that feeling too, this Cuban team knows that that's all it takes to just set off this offense.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Look at the way this dugout erupted in celebration when Arruparena came across.
Take that breath. The sudden smiles all around. See if they can build on it.
And Drake can't hold up. He's gone on strikes.
That's a big pitch, Cole. You know that energy. You can feel it in your peripheral vision over there with that Cuban team. You know you've been struggling to find that pitch in the second inning. You come up big. That's a big pitch right there. Big second out.
And the pitching change is coming. As Yadier Mujica will step into the batter's box, he will not see Vinny Natoli, but a new arm into the game for Italy. We got a tight one here in the 7th, 2-1. Italy with the lead. Cuba with a man on. New arm into the game for Italy here in the bottom half of the 7th inning is the Tampa Bay Rays prospect Joe LaSorsa, who is ready to go as he signals to his backstop Brett Sullivan.
Good numbers for Joe LaSorsa. Lefty throws in the upper 80s to 90, 91. Good command. Look at that strikeout. 87 strikeouts, 73 innings. A ball, double A. Big moment for him. Trying to squash some of that energy we've been witnessing here all of a sudden.
He came on to face the left-handed hitting Yadiel Mujica, and he will not do that, as Cuba will go to the bench and bring on the right-handed hitting Dayan Garcia. This is another look at the play in which Arizbel Arrubarrena looked like maybe he had been called out. So that is second base umpire Chris Siegel, the Major League umpire, walking in from the backside of that second shot and clarifying that he had granted time to Arizbel Arrubarrena after that triple. Arrubarrena walked off the bag and was tagged by Nicky Lopez, and Serge Makushetev, the third base umpire, signaled out initially before Chris Siegel clarified that he was the one who had granted time.
But Rafael Munoz, the third base coach, he's the one who asked for time in the initial shot. He asked the third base umpire, hey, listen, need time? I didn't quite look like he got the confirmation. Nonetheless.
So the pinch hitter Garcia takes a hack at the 0-1, spoils it back and out of play.
See that deceptive delivery from La Sorsa, kind of slinging the ball up there. He's 24 years old, first time representing Team Italy.
O2 pitch on the way to Garcia. Joe La Sorsa, a New York area guy. He's a St. John's University product and a St. John's teammate with John Valenti.
And you see that fastball, 89 to 91 is deceptive. We've already seen that. He's got that big sweeping breaking ball. Really effective against lefties, but Cuba decided to go righty against him his first at bat.
And he loses Garcia on the 0-2.
Cuba are in business. It's amazing what that momentum can do.
First and second now, the tying run to scoring position and back to the top of the order.
Now La Sorsa gets a chance to face a left-handed hitter. Tonight's starter, Rowanus Elias. He's fired up. Gone 5 innings.
Yoelkis Guibert back at the top of the order. 0 for 1, a sacrifice bunt. As he tries to lay down another one. Also a walk tonight for Guibert. First and second, 1 out. Cuba, through its first 6 innings at the plate, had 3 hits and no runs. This inning, 2 hits, a batter hit by pitch, a run scored already, and 2 on. As the foremost dominant power in international baseball looking for its resurrection here at the 2023 World Baseball Classic, but in the more immediate term, looking to not fall to 0-2 to start this Classic.
Sorsa quickly 0-2. You can see a big sweeping breaking ball right here. Left on left. Has to bury this pitch.
Here comes the 0-2.
It's too much plate. Trying to do too much with that pitch. Goes back to that breaking ball right here. Just getting around that ball just a little bit. Guibert able to get a little bit of barrel on that ball.
The end of the bat out to third. Picked there by Nicky Lopez, who will get the lead runner. Quintana is retired, but here comes Yoan Moncada with the tying and go-ahead runs on base.
And this was a big moment early in this game. Palante, the young right-hander prospect. Let's go pitch by pitch. First of all, that big breaking ball, that's his big weapon, but he has to get to a place where he has to attack him. I kept saying, throw that fastball up in the strike zone, you get a swing and miss. He gets the foul tip. Sure enough, that's what happens when you attack some of these hitters. When you trust it just a little bit, you're going to get that good 97 up on the hands. You're going to get a swing and miss.
Conversation at the mound now with Michael Borzello, the pitching coach, out to talk things over with his reliever, La Sorsa. Yeah, not only were you saying that on air, got to that last pitch of the at-bat, you were motioning in the booth like, man, throw that pitch elevated. And got Moncada on the strikeout to end the fifth. But a monster moment coming up here from Taichung Intercontinental Baseball Stadium with Yoan Moncada stepping into the batter's box. And man, these are the moments in which it really hits you just how big the changes to this Cuba roster are in 2023. In years past, we would not have seen a Major League superstar stepping into the batter's box in this moment, as we'll get a pinch runner in at second base.
Yoan Moncada does hit better from the right side. Against lefties, 240 as opposed to 200. He is more comfortable.
And man, now you think back to the ball off of the glove of Yoenis Cespedes that allowed the run to score on the double, as it was ruled by Miles Mastrobuoni, that plated Nicky Lopez. The insurance tally in the top of this inning. Moncada, 0-1. Quickly 0-2 on it.
Wow, let that fastball go by you. Like I said, he hits for a better average from the right side. Not as much power throughout his career. Man. Big moment right here.
La Sorsa comes set. 0-2 pitch on the way. Moncada down the line, foul.
This is what we're talking about. Yoenis Cespedes, Gold Glover at left field. Look at this, just losing this ball. Kind of took a funky route. You can see that's haunting him. Twice now he's done that in the World Baseball Classic play. Once it's in center field in San Diego.
And a swing and a miss by Yoan Moncada, and Joe La Sorsa roars to his dugout on the third base side as he snuffs out the Cuba rally in the seventh. We are headed to the eighth in a classic. Italy 2, Cuba 1. Ryan, maybe the biggest moment of this night, just a moment ago, Joe La Sorsa comes through in a monster spot.
Yeah, probably the biggest moment of his career thus far for Joe La Sorsa, the 24-year-old. Finally executing, getting on top of that breaking ball. Look how fired up he is. That entire dugout. What a moment. Shutting down this Cuban threat in that inning.
24-year-old from St. John's University in Queens, New York. Just struck out an MLB superstar to close a threat, and now a liner to first, and it's off the glove of Yadir Drake, who I thought was going to snare that thing at the apex of his leap, and the Italian nightmare Vinny Pasquantino is aboard.
We've seen this a couple times now. He hits the ball hard. We got a chance to see that at the Major League level last year. And you ask yourself if guys like Moinella, who dominated the Japanese league, this that slider just kind of sits up a little bit. And look at that swing. Really took Drake's glove off. Ball was crushed.
You know, Drake doesn't make the play there, but he does save extra bases by deflecting that, knocking it down. So a leadoff single. And here's Dominic Fletcher. What a game tonight. But Cuba is waiting for these two guys to get it figured out.
Yeah, that was a big storyline coming in. The fact that Major League players are allowed to represent Cuba for the first time.
And a pitch escapes to the backstop, and Vinny Pasquantino will move into scoring position.
See those numbers from Carter and Luis Robert, just a non-factor early here, these first two games.
Right, another thing that's at play and is something that goes on behind the scenes, the pressure those guys are probably feeling right now. You saw this with Ichiro Suzuki in 2009 when he led Japan to its second consecutive World Baseball Classic title. The pressure those guys are feeling,
right,
back in a Cuban uniform for the first time, something they probably never thought was possible. They are struggling right now, maybe pressing a little bit.
For sure, trying to carry their team, knowing how much this means. Obviously the international game for Cuba. A lot of these young players too, we heard their manager talk about that when we got a chance to talk to him, Armando Johnson. He talked about the effect that Yoan Moncada and Luis Robert have had on the young players who really look up to them. You know, they had a situation where the roster was cruising around Japan playing teams, then the major league guys joined them late, and all of a sudden the energy shifted a little bit. Everything started to get serious. You're right too, I mean, there's so much pressure they would put on themselves to come back, just light it up and get Cuba to that next round.
Because you think about the things that this means to your family, to your friends back home, all that these guys sacrificed in order to pursue professional baseball careers in the United States. Luis Mateo, the pinch runner, has stayed in the game at second base. And now a visit to the mound from Pedro Lazo. We have seen these visits turn into pitching changes. We'll see if the longtime pitching legend will go to the bullpen again. But here's a look at what Cuba's pitching staff did workload-wise yesterday against the Netherlands.
He's going to stay with him. Yeah, Levan Moinello being absolutely dominant, just a no-doubter reliever in Japan, and he's getting rattled a little bit. Pascantina hitting that ball on the screws, left on left.
Moinello pitching on back-to-back days, so he is out tomorrow as Cuba will take on Panama in the early game.
That's a situation you may as well run with it now because he is unavailable tomorrow.
Japan has broken open its game at the Tokyo Dome, an 8-1 lead over China, now bottom of the 8th. Shohei Ohtani at the plate with the bases loaded and a chance to end it early via the early termination rule if he can put his team up by 10 or more. Flies out, so they'll go to the 9th.
I'm pretty sure you're going to see a Matt Vesta, the Seattle Mariner, Major League bullpen arm, come into this game at some point, 8th or 9th inning. You see Quintana asking the home plate umpire if he can go for a mound visit, saying no.
First and second, nobody out for Brett Sullivan. You know, another thing that comes into play here, these two have probably not worked together a whole lot. So trying to get on the same page, a pitcher like Moinello with that really impressive arsenal, and a catcher trying to handle him behind the plate as you see Raul Martinez going to work.
Plus you're facing guys you've never faced either. So it's a situation, you know, when you're in Japan like Moinello, he's faced guys a ton. Obviously, they're playing each other over and over, just like you see in the big leagues. You get scouting reports, everything else. But when you haven't faced these guys before, you're kind of on the fence as to what pitches to go with here.
And another one escapes off the glove of Quintana. And the second pitch to the backstop this inning puts two in scoring position now with nobody out.
And how quickly that momentum shifts again. I mean, you think about that last inning, Cuba all of a sudden piling out of the dugout. Then that big strikeout from La Source, and now they get fired up. Yeah, it looked like he may have been crossed up. This is a tough guy to be crossed up with that slider and that fastball, especially 94s, 97s. Trying to get on the same page. These are crucial pitches right now with none out here in the 8th.
That one goes as a pass ball charge to Quintana. And man, I mean, that nearly flanked off the head of Kitok Park, our home plate umpire from Korea, who ducked right under it. Pitch there for a strike. Brett Sullivan trying to give his team a little bit of breathing room. It was a 2-run lead for Italy going into the bottom of the 7th. Cuba getting its first run of the night. But Italy's best threat of the night may be right here. Hitters count 2-1. Sullivan swings and can't get it.
Brett Sullivan hitting that sac fly into right field. Get Italy on the board. Another big spot right here.
Vinny Pasquantino away from third. Dominic Fletcher from second. Infield pulled in around for Cuba, with the exception of Yadir Drake at first against the left-handed hitting Brett Sullivan.
Yeah, you can see right now Moinello and Quintana just not comfortable. You see Moinello shake a ton, second guessing some of these pitches.
2-2 to Sullivan.
Tough pitch to foul off. Stay in the middle of the play, but it's sharp, it's late. It's that little breaking ball from Moinello. Throws the sharp one, the bigger one. Ooh, that's tough, left on left.
Moinello ready for another 2-2 pitch on the way. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Good block that time by Quintana.
Good at bat again, 3-2. This is no picnic. Left on left, like I said, Brett Sullivan. Facing a tough, trying to protect against some of these secondary pitches he's getting from Moinello.
Ivan Moinello trying to put away Brett Sullivan for a hugely important first out in the 8th. Man, still just not able to get on the same page as Lorenzo Quintana. And Keetalk Park starting to get a little frustrated with it, the home plate umpire. And it's got to rattle you so much, Ryan, as a reliever, to just not be able to find that rhythm with your battery mate.
Yeah, 29 pitches in, too. That's something he's used to.
3-2, lifted on the infield. Out number 1.
That's a massive out, but yeah, you make a great point. I mean, trying to get in a rhythm. You got Quintana, you're not used to working with each other. You got left on left. You're not landing that breaking ball. They get a chance right now just to have a quick chat. Deeper pitch count. He did pitch yesterday. Here comes Pedro Laza. He's going to take him out of the game.
So a good start to this 8th inning for Italy. Brett Sullivan retired. Cuba going to the bullpen. Italian team still threatening with runners at 2nd and 3rd and 1 gone.
David Fletcher right here, one of the most aggressive hitters in the major leagues. Does make a lot of contact, but a lot of soft contact as well. Take a look at this, 95 mile per hour or less, exit velo, 175 hits. He is a pesky hitter, and the guy you want up in this situation. The guy he's facing, though, is no picnic. Talked about Moinello being tough over in Japan, but Raidel Martinez, another closer over in Japan. shuffling a little bit as that pitch count got up. Rydell Martinez, look at these numbers. First of all, look at that sub-1 ERA, 56 games. 39 saves, that is the league leader. And scouting report on him, he's 95, 96, can touch 100. Throws a split, a hard split, it's about 90, 91. And a hard slider too. Both those secondary pitches are big weapons. 31% strikeout rate. Crazy numbers. It's that guy that Cuba look at. He's kind of hoping you go on a Rydell Martinez when you do have a lead, but right now they just do not have any choice. They have to try and win this game. This is a big spot. 2 runners on. The man at the plate, man, can make a lot of contact. Tough to strike out.
Martinez and Moinello both out of Pinar del Rio. Martinez 26, Moinello 27. Both starring right now in Nippon Professional Baseball, as Ryan noted, in a huge spot here for Rydell Martinez. And his first pitch to Fletcher is in the air, shallow right center. Racing in is Robert, and coming in to make the grab from right field, Guibert, as he's the one to finally snare it. And a first pitch pop out from David Fletcher, and now we go from second and third, nobody out, to second and third, 2 out for Italy here in the 8th.
Talk about Rydell Martinez, how tough he is to face, and David Fletcher wasted no time. That's his MO. He just comes out swinging. 2 big outs for Cuba, keeping this game close.
Man, if you're Armando Johnson, your heart's in your throat there. That last second, seeing Luis Mateo kind of curl his route over, but then it was Guibert who had the easiest track to it. So Nicky Lopez will try to come through with some 2-out offense for Italy. And he takes strike 1. Vinny Pasquantino led off this inning with a single off the glove of the leaping Yadir Drake, as the Seattle Mariners' Matt Festa warms in the bullpen. Pasquantino went to second on a wild pitch. Dominic Fletcher walked behind him. Those 2 moved up on a pass ball. But since then, a couple of pop-outs to second base and shallow right field. Oh, 1-1.
So it looks like Matt Festa in the 8th inning, bottom of the 8th here for Italy.
Piazza, the calm, steadying force, along with Blake Butera over in that third base dugout in a very tense game. Left side! Oh, what a diving catch by Yoan Moncada! Yoan Moncada saving the night, perhaps, for Cuba. That one was ticketed for the left field corner. 2 runs across, and instead, it ends the inning and keeps Cuba right within striking distance. As we go to the bottom of the 8th, it's 2-1 Italy. You don't think this matters to this Cuba team as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning? That is tonight's starting pitcher, Roenis Elias, rallying his team after this moment.
How about this catch? Some serious exit velo. No time to take a step, just quick reaction to his right. Man, keeping this game at 2-1. You mentioned it too, Tyler, the fact that he hasn't come through offensively, but he's at the play that keeps him right here. Get some base runners and come alive over in that first base dugout.
97 miles an hour off the bat. 96 miles an hour off the bat of Nicky Lopez, and right into the glove of Yoan Moncada, and it is 3-4-5 for Cuba as we take this game to the bottom of the 8th. And a new arm into the game, Ryan, a guy you're very familiar with, Seattle Mariners pitcher Matt Festa.
Yeah, a guy who the Seattle Mariners are so high on. It's taken him just a little bit to get that presence at the major league level. You see the good fastball, he's 93, 96, and he has that plus slider that when he can command that secondary pitch, that slider of his, man, he is nearly unhittable. But that's been the big question mark for Matt Festa. Can he do that consistently? This is a situation for Luis Robert Jr. Be disciplined here, trying to get a good counter here, but he's already down 0-2.
0-2 fouled away. Luis Robert yesterday started his day, I should say, 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. He doubled in the 8th inning of his team's 4-2 loss to the Netherlands. And tonight, 0 for 3.
See him trying to challenge him in there with a fastball. Has dealt with some injuries as well in the past. In 2020, had Tommy John surgery. And just not a whole lot of hard contact. The one thing, like I said, the Achilles heel with Matt Festa is the command.
That might be the new Cuban ambassador to Taiwan before this.
Scored a jacket from the dugout.
This whole thing is said and done. 0-2 pitch to Robert.
Tough at bat right here. Found some tough pitches.
Still waiting on these 2 big league bats to break out in the middle of that Cuba lineup, and Luis Robert with a golden opportunity try to get his team started with a 1-run deficit in the 8th.
That's what I'm talking about with Matt Festa and that slider of his. You can see this pitch staying up in the strike zone. And it's one thing to be walking guys all over the place, but having the consistency to execute that pitch. He's gotten away with a couple sliders middle of the plate.
Another 0-2 to Robert. 7 straight fouled off by Luis Robert.
And this is what he falls into too. And you look at all of a sudden a 7-pitch at bat. And all that is produced by the fact that you've seen those foul balls. And you see here right here, 3/4 arm slot, 92, 94, can get it up to 95, 96. Got that sinker. Another pitch he was developing, Tyler, down at drive line is that cut fastball to lefties. That's that weapon. He's had plenty of success against righties when you can get that slider over. We talked about that, but to lefties, I spoke to him the other day, talked about really trying to hone in on that cut fastball.
8 straight fouled away.
He's going hard on working on the pitch design, get that pitch just right. Folks down at drive line in Kent, Washington.
Talked with Brandon Mann, who worked with Matt Festa as he blows the fastball by Luis Robert at 90 miles an hour and wins the battle on pitch number 9 for out number 1.
Able to climb that ladder too. You can see Luis Robert Jr. able to foul these pitches off the top of the strike zone. He just raises that eye level just a little bit more. It gets above that barrel. Big out right here in the 8th inning.
So 1 gone, base is empty. Here is Alfredo Despaigne. Matt Festa, as you noted, Ryan, going down to driveline baseball this offseason, just trying to work on sort of improving pitch design, his pitch usage, all that. But what was interesting talking with Brandon Mann, who worked most closely with him, he just impressed upon me how intelligent Matt Festa is. He said, I keep telling him, if you want a big league coaching job as a pitching coach someday, that is going to be your job. He's that good, understands what he's trying to do that well. 1-1 pitch to Despaigne. Driven in the air to center field. That'll get down for a base hit, and that'll roll all the way to the wall. Picked up out there by Ben DeLuzio. Alfredo Despaigne, not the fleetest of foot, but he's into second with the double and puts himself in scoring position as the potential tying run.
We didn't see Despaigne yesterday with the back stiffness. He was out of the lineup. And just good. Piece of hitting, getting a fastball up in the strike zone. And just lean you into right center field.
108.3 miles an hour off the bat. Despaigne motoring into second, firing up his dugout. And now, as baseball so often has a way of writing, the script turns to an opportunity for Yoenis Cespedes who was unable to haul in a fly ball out to left that resulted in Italy's second run scoring, and he takes ball 1.
Yeah, and no doubt that plays in the back of your mind right now. If you're Yoenis Cespedes, you can't help but think about that. He's been around a long time, played some huge games. Ooh, big swing. Guessing wrong, he kind of sold out right there, thinking he's going to get a fastball perhaps. Look at Rowan Salias. Yeah, it's a situation where you just guess wrong. You can call it selling out, just basically trying to put that A swing on anything up in the strike zone.
One. Cespedes to third. Lopez across the diamond, 2 gone. And the task with 2 outs falls to Arrubarena.
You mentioned the fact that you're trying to redeem yourself, that second run coming from this crucial play. And we talk about this all the time in the World Baseball Classic. When you are playing tournament-style baseball, only 4 games, every little moment just like that from Cespedes counts. As we see it, playing big here in the 2-1 game.
So 2 outs, and the guy who scored the only run for Cuba tonight, Arisbel Barbaro Arrubarena, into the batter's box. Festa deals in ball 1. Arrubarena, a line drive to center to start last inning that ate up Bendoluzio, got past him and all the way to the wall. And he drives this one down the right field line, slicing toward the stripe. It's fair, and we're all tied up.
What a moment. Cuba ties this game up. Gets that pitch on the outside part of the plate. Just kind of pushes that ball into right field. Despaigne. Speed not the factor. He's scoring easy. Look at him. He needs to get about 6 cups of water right there. Look at the big fella. And you could see that dugout, Tyler, just pouring out with Cuban jerseys.
How about that moment for Alfredo Despaigne, a guy who has given his baseball life to his country, and he's the one to score the tying run. And Cuba not done yet here in the 8th as Lorenzo Quintana takes strike 1.
And here it is again. It's that slider we talked about. We talked about the command, the consistency, the execution from Matt Festa, which has really hindered his career thus far and had put up good numbers at the major league level. And that was just a spinning slider, middle of the plate. There's another one.
0-1 grounded to short, and that will do it here in the 8th. But Italy sees a 2-run lead evaporate as Cuba has rallied to draw even. And we go to the 9th in a 2-2 game inside Jump. Brand new ball game as we head to the 9th, thanks in part to that guy, the big fella Alfredo Despaigne, and that guy as well, Arisbel Arrubarena, as Cuba has rallied from a 2-0 deficit going to the bottom of the 7th to force this game in a tie headed to the 9th. And Rydell Martinez will continue on the mound for his team.
Man, what a moment. See that dugout, you can see Rowan Salias trying to rally the troops, get his team fired up, trying to will something, some kind of energy to get that run across. Big double from Despaigne, and then a little bloop into right field, ties this game up.
You've mentioned it several times. This has been a game all predicated on momentum to this point, and Cuba's got all of it at the moment. So for Bendoluzio and Miles Mastroboni, the 8-9 hitters, to lead this thing off before the lineup card turns over and goes back to Sal Frelick, the task is to try to reclaim some of that energy.
Another thing to think about here as well, look, Cuba have been here before. Now, I've had a chance to play, obviously, at Major League level. I played professional baseball for a long time, but I've also had a chance to play internationally. It's just a different feel. We talk about momentum shifts, energy in your dugout. A lot of these guys in Team Italy, yes, they play at high level in the United States, but you get so used to, you get so in a rhythm of the fact that you're playing at a minor league level. Some of these guys are playing, what, 140, 150 games. At the major league level, you're playing 162. You lose a game, you get down. All right, you know what, we'll go out and get them tomorrow. You have to find ways to manufacture some of that momentum going into innings like this.
Big hack and miss there from Ben DeLuzio. And a strikeout for out number 1.
And he's no easy task against Raidel Martinez. You can see that easy upper 90s fastball, top of the strike zone.
So it brings up Miles Mastrobuoni, who doubled home what looked like an insurance run in the 7th inning. Driving in Nicky Lopez, cashing in his leadoff single. Mastrobuoni charged the ball out to left field. Yoenis Cespedes, a long run. It glanced off of his glove. That enabled Lopez to score all the way from first, made it a 2-0 game. Mastrobuoni, the Tampa Bay Rays prospect, facing an 0-1 count.
Is that split? Those numbers in AAA, 316 home runs. Knocking on the door of the big leagues.
Fly ball into left, a long run for the defensive replacement Roel Santos, and he's there to pull it in.
2 quick outs here for Team Italy.
Mastrobuoni formerly with the Rays, now with the Chicago Cubs. Sal Frelick, Milwaukee Brewers prospect. So much talent in this lineup, but man, Raidel Martinez is as good as anybody we're seeing.
Yeah, really is. Stuff-wise, I mean, he's up there in this pool when you're talking about pure stuff, and he's got the numbers and the command, the results to prove it over in Japan. You look at that fastball, can top out at 100. The split is a huge weapon. We've already seen it, 85 to 89. It's that hard split.
And first pitch swinging, pop up left side. Moncada got it in his sights, and the inning is over. Raidel Martinez making quick work of Italy's lineup in the 9th. We go to the bottom half of the 9th. Cuba will try to walk it off inside Young. Mike Piazza's squad on that third base side had a 2-0 lead going into the bottom of the 7th inning, and that has evaporated. And for Italian baseball, that has been a common theme in the World Baseball Classic. Last 4 games, blown leads in all of them, and losses in the first 3 of those 4. The outcome hanging in the balance here tonight as we go to the bottom of the 9th. Matt Fester remains in this game for Italy. And the first pitch to the 8-hole hitter, Yadir Drake, is there for strike 1.
That's so tough to come out for a second inning after you've blown the lead for your team. You are a major league owner. You got a lot of young pitchers behind you. You're trying to carry this bullpen on your back. Yeah, just regroup, take a breath, get it done. It's 2-2 still.
Yadir Drake, 1 for 2 tonight, a single and a sacrifice bunt. The count 1-2 on him now. Drake, a former member of the Los Angeles Dodgers organization. He is out of Matanzas. And you can tell who this crowd has embraced as the evening has gone along. I think due in large part to Horn Guy.
Best buddy down there. He has come a lot. Look at this. What's he got?
miss on 1-2. And here Drake is out number 1.
That's a big strikeout. We're talking about regrouping that second inning. Start executing pitches in the fastball above the strike zone. No chance for Drake. His hands on top of that ball.
Fouled back by Luis Mateo, enters this game in the 9 spot in the order as the defensive replacement, actually initially as a pinch runner out of the 9 spot. One ball and 1 strike. This is what Italy's pitchers have done tonight. Everybody remains available. Even Matt Harvey could pitch again in this opening round if Italy wanted to go that route. He did not exceed 50 pitches, which would necessitate 4 days of rest. Ball and 2 strikes. Testa going to work against Mateo. 1-2.
Yeah, you got to remember this is Italy's first game. You've seen everyone get their second game dialed in. Italy's got 4 straight.
Grounder to first. Pasquantino's got it. 2 away. And that puts us 1 out away from this. Extra innings tiebreaker rules in effect, which began in the international game and of course now are present in Major League Baseball. Beginning in the 10th inning, each team starting each half inning with a runner on second base. That runner being the player who made the last out in the last inning. So if Joel Quisquibert ends this inning here, he would be the man on second base to start the 10th for Yoan Moncada. But still some time in regulation 9 with 2 outs and the bases empty in the bottom of the 9th. Quisquibert 0 for 2, sacrifice bunt and a walk today. Here you see what he did in the Cuban Elite League this season. It's a pitch up high, 2-0. Tense moments behind that first base dugout. 3-0.
Got some big bats coming up for Italy too. Top part of that 10th inning. Talked about having that ghost runner at second base. Pasquantino is going to be up second.
3-0. He's strike 1. You're Matt Festa, you got to come right at Joel Quisquibert here, putting a runner on for Luis Robert, following, I should say, Yoan Moncada. If those guys can get something rolling, not what you want in the 9th. 3-1 pitch is there for strike 2, and the count is full.
We're going right after him, but you make a good point. That's a 3-1, that new cut fastball he throws to lefties, right down the middle of the plate. You mentioned it too. Both lineups have the heart of the order coming up in extra innings. That man right there, Vinny Pasquantino, we're going to see him second up at the top part of the 10th.
3-2, grounded to the right side. A slow roller on a couple of hops. Mastrobuoni gets it to first, and for the first time in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, we are headed to extra innings. Dominic Fletcher will lead things off for Italy as we go to the 10th. Headed to extra innings for the first time in this 2023 World Baseball Classic. Our extra innings rules. Each team will start this 10th inning with a runner at second base. The runner there will be the man that made the last out in the last inning or precedes the leadoff hitter in this inning. So as we go to the top of the 10th, it'll be Sal Frelick on at second base and John Valenti into the batter's box for Italy. And back in the bottom of the 8th, this is how we got to this point as Arizbel Arubarena came through for Cuba.
Yeah, look at this. Fighting this pitch off. This is a pitch middle of the plate. A little bit too much with 2 strikes, but just enough getting that ball into right field. Despania had plenty of time to score. Look at that dugout. Cuba just pouring out. So excited to be still alive. Look, they've been here plenty of times too. We talked about that. This Cuban team, they've been on the ropes before. These situations where every out counts. Obviously, trying to get that win across, but Team Italy, a lot of these guys first time being in the World Baseball Classic.
And this is always the dance at the start of extra innings with the extra runner out at second base. Do you bunt?
Yeah, and you know, you've seen teams, obviously this is now implemented in the major leagues where teams don't bunt, they're trying to go for the 2. But this is that conservative approach, just get that run across.
Runner off with the pitch, and he's just going to snipe third. South Frelick, seeing that Yohan Moncada was drawn in, anticipating the bunt, just thought, all right, I'll just take it then.
Let's do. Ronald Martinez, I've read the scouting report. He is slow to the plate. And another factor of this too, you have that option to swing away, but Mike Piazza electing to bunt because Ronald, you can see the runner taking off right here. No throw.
Yeah, that's a great job by John Valenti as well to make sure that he pulled that bat back, because no sense in laying the bunt down and wasting the out when you're going to get third base anyway. And the Brewers prospect making it happen with his legs. Martinez now home on 1-0, and Valenti fouls it back.
It's a fast one, middle of the plate. Fouled straight back. Climb that pitch up. Tell you what, Team Italy has done a really good job getting to that velocity up in the strike zone. Seen some of these lefties against Moinello, who's throwing 95, 96, left on left, able to get to that pitch.
South Frelick 24 steals in minor league baseball last season as the count goes to 1-2 on Valenti. I mean, right now, the conversation for the two of us, who do you think this favors going into extras, knowing that the tiebreaker rule is in effect?
Yeah, I think a situation, it's what arms you have on the mound too. Look, I mentioned this earlier, Ronald Martinez is tough to make good contact against. So, you know, runner is still at second, you're gonna lay the bunt down, do your best, but Italy are in a good spot right now. 9 out, runner on third. Thanks to that stolen base.
Martinez is just kind of the definition of wiry as a pitcher. He's listed at 6'3", 192. Almost seems like it undersells him height-wise. Long levers as he kicks and comes home on 1-2, and a liner back up the middle into center field. Italy's back into the lead. John Valenti comes through, an RBI single. Italy 3 and Cuba 2.
And that is huge. Getting a split that stays up in the strike zone with 2 strikes. Italy have been so good against plus pitching. Excuse me, that's that hard slider. But they have been so good with 2 strikes, just getting good contact. And you right away, as soon as it got past Ronald Martinez, Ron was going to score, and they are in business.
And the emotions on both sides in this game have just been so powerful to watch as Vinny Pasquantino steps in. And what a matchup this is. Pasquantino and Raidel Martinez, one of the best young hitters in Major League Baseball, one of the best pitchers in Nippon professional baseball.
And nowhere to put Vinny Pasquantino. Can't pitch around him. Just give them an opportunity with a runner in scoring position. There's that question. How much do you pitch to him? He's a patient hitter. He's not going to swing it. Pitches outside the strike zone. Have to challenge him right here.
Two 2-0. Pasquantino tonight, singles in each of his last 2 trips to the plate. He walked in the first inning and flew out to right field in the third. And he smoked the ball to first base in his last trip to the plate. It was off the glove of Yadir Drake, leaping at first base, who didn't get the out, but saved it from turning into an extra base hit. He deflected it and took most of the wind out of the sails of that ball. 2-0, Pasquantino in the air, left center. Luis Robert, 1 out.
The pitch he could handle too. We talked about the fact he's going to challenge him. Now where to put him. Just missed that pitch. Fastball just getting down in the strike zone just enough. Vinny Pasquantino knew right away he just missed. A big chance right there for Team Italy.
Another visit to the pitcher's mound, and this is going to be a pitching change as Pedro Lazo will go out and get Raidel Martinez. Italy has grabbed the lead once more, 3-2 in the 10th. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of World Baseball Classic Incorporated and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Top of the 10th inning in Taichung, a 3-2 lead for Italy. Sal Frelick, the extra runner to start the 10th inning at second base, swiped third and came home on an RBI single back up the middle by John Valenti, who remains at first base after Vinny Pasquantino flew out to center field, and a new arm into the game for Cuba is the right-hander Onelki Garcia.
Yeah, we got a chance to see Onelki Garcia yesterday in that game against the Netherlands. Been all over the place. He's pitched in Japan, he's pitched here in Taiwan. More recently, you see these numbers here, 2022, Yucatan, Mexico. 7 ERA, struggle a little bit. It's going to be 50-50 fastball slider. Mid to low 90s on that fastball. Mostly a left on left guy. Here he is facing the lefty. Comfort zone right here. Big out number 2 for Cuba.
And Fletcher charges one out to right center field, and that's going to get past Guibert and all the way to the wall. Here comes Valenti around third. He will score.
You talk about his big brother David Fletcher being a pesky contact hitter. Dominic Fletcher's built a little differently, has more power from the left side. Just jumped all over that fastball middle. I mentioned 50-50 fastball slider. He guessed right on this one. Just stroked that ball into the right center gap. Wow, we talked about momentum, Tyler. We thought, I'm not gonna lie, I was thinking to myself, look, Cuba's got that. They've been here before. They've been in this position before. But look at Italy turning it on in the 10th inning.
Just an ambush swing from Dominic Fletcher, who got the pitch he was looking for, first offering. That dugout, loving it. Their right fielder loving it as well.
Yeah, the other factor as well, you think of Cuba just burning through that bullpen. They're going to be down 2-0 now in these next couple games.
And they've got the early game tomorrow. So what we saw last night with Panama having to turn around and play the early game, now that's going to be Cuba in that spot tomorrow. And unless this Cuba team rallies, they're going to be 0-2 facing Panama at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon local time.
Yeah, we talked about that for Panama too. Sometimes when you score 12 runs, you want to get right back at it. But it looked like they were just exhausted. That offense was shut down. big out right here for Cuba. Remember, they will start with a runner at second base.
There is the
silence in that dugout.
Emotional leader of this team today, the starting pitcher, Roenis Elias, who has gathered his guys around in the dugout the last couple innings to try to rally them. And he's going to have to do it again with his team trailing by 2. But the extra runner coming for Cuba in the bottom of the 10th inning as Minoki Garcia continues to work against Brett Sullivan. Dominic Fletcher in scoring position away from second. 1-2, playable foul ground left side. Mankata 2 away.
We talked about Cuba being down 2-0 going in the next 2 games. Burning through some of these pitches too. Obviously, Roenis Elias, he's going to be unavailable. Rodriguez Cruz, they're still healthy pitch counts. Manila, 30 pitches, that's huge. For him, he's already thrown 2 days. Raul Martinez, 18. Now Minoki Garcia with 5.
And they will intentionally walk David Fletcher, not wanting to deal with a supremely gifted contact hitter, and they'll pitch to Nicky Lopez instead. Now a force out at any bag as well.
You got to think that the lineup he's been in the last couple of years has Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. How many times has David Fletcher been intentionally walked? Think about that.
That's a good point. That is a very good point.
You make a good point, though, man. The fact he has that ability to make that contact, skip him, go to the next guy.
Going to go left on left as well with Nicky Lopez at the dish. Oh, excuse me, swing roller, and that'll dribble foul. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 10th. Yoelqui Skiber will start the inning as the extra runner at second base. Yoan Mankata will be the leadoff man, then Luis Robert Jr., then Alfredo Despaigne, then Yoenis Cespedes. That is a gauntlet for, as we anticipate, Arizona Diamondbacks prospect Mitchell Stumpo. He's the one who's been throwing in that Italy bullpen. Lopez fouled that off of Quintana. There is the right-hander, Stumpo, an amazing baseball story in his own right. I'll tell you about him as we get to the bottom of the 10th. You really do have to admire how much Mike Piazza has projected that air of calm and control all night.
For sure. And so much, I've dealt with that too, being in the dugout on a national team. A lot of first-timers. The presence that your manager has down the end of that dugout just rubs off on everyone up and down that dugout for sure.
0-2 gets away, and the wild pitch will put 2 in scoring position now for Italy. That is the 3rd pass ball or wild pitch in the last 3 innings, and Pedro Lazo's about ready to start tearing his hair out over there.
Yeah, he's been in this position before himself. Pedro Lazo, the very decorated catcher for the, closer for this Cuban team. But just the energy is just zapped. See another pass ball, Quintana. It's a big out right here, left on left. Get your team back in there. Your boy Elias, talk to the team again. Do what you got to do. Manufacture some of that energy.
And if you're Nicky Lopez and you can deliver right here, you might bust this thing open. 1-2 is high, 2-2. This is everything the World Baseball Classic is about. Every pitch just dripping with drama here in the 10th. Italy trying to capture a monster first win in Pool A. Cuba trying to avoid An ignominious start of 0-2. 2-2. Up the middle and into center field for a base hit. In to score is Fletcher. His brother David around third. He will score. Nicky Lopez comes through. It's a 4-run top of the 10th and a 6-2 lead for Mike Piazza's team.
Wow, Nicky Lopez, a guy who last year started to struggle a little bit, especially with 2 strikes, hit 110. When he had 2 strikes, really struggled when he slipped behind in the count. He has blown this game wide open. 6-2 Italy. Again, left on left. Getting the pitch to hit. Making good contact with 2 strikes. Back up the middle.
And how big was that wild pitch now?
Yeah, huge. I mean, again, every little moment. Remember, you only play 4 games. Those moments that can haunt you if you team Cuba. Remember, this is their World Series. They get to play on this kind of a stage. This is their biggest moment as a national program. A lot of the guys you see in front of you on Team Italy, they go back to, after this, when they get done, they go back to camp. Big league camp. Start their season for Team Cuba, not quite the same.
And now on a grounder back to the mound, and a frustrated Onelki Garcia gets the final out of the 10th. We take this game to the bottom of the 10th. 4 runs on the board for Italy in the top half. They'll try to close out a mammoth Day 2 win over Cuba when we return. Well, here's the situation as it sits right now as we head to the bottom of the 10th inning in Taichung. The Netherlands already sitting pretty, 2-0 after a win earlier today over Panama. Panama with a stunning performance last night in a big win over Chinese Taipei. Cuba 0-1, trying to avoid dropping to 0-2, which would be a shocker to open this 2023 World Baseball Classic. And how about the energy in that third base dugout right now as Italy carries a 4-run cushion into the bottom of the 10th, and the game started by that man, Matt Harvey.
Yeah, we talked about this pool as well being so well balanced already. I mean, we talked so heavily about the Netherlands, Cuba being the favorites. Look at this, 6-2 here in the 10th.
New arm into the game for Italy is Mitchell Stumpo out of the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. There is Yoelqui Escobar at second. And the first pitch swung on and chopped out to the shifted shortstop, David Fletcher, as Yoan Moncada is gone and 0 for 5 tonight.
You know, if you're Mitchell Stumpo in this situation, you mentioned the story from him. Guy went to a D3 college. Probably the biggest game of his career right now. Having carved through the middle of that lineup. Moncada, quick out, settled the nerves down a little bit. And then you got Luis Robert Jr., followed by Despagne. Big moment for him in his career.
First pitch on the way to Robert, down the right field line. That'll slice foul. Yeah, Stumpo, you mentioned the D3 school. He suffered a rough injury in high school, an avulsion fracture in his elbow. Basically gave up baseball, came back to it midway through his 4 years in school, signed as an undrafted free agent. 2021, he pitched at 4 different levels in the D-backs minor league system. Pitch up high, 1-1.
Here he is facing Luis Robert Jr.
Iber advancing on the ground out by Moncada. Robert fooled badly there. It's 1-2.
Good slider. His fastball can get 95, 96. Seeing some 93s tonight. That slider at 86, 87. There's another one. Cuba just energy zapped right now. 6-2 here in the 10th.
Italy looking to move to 4-1 in World Baseball Classic opening games. Mike Piazza, I mean, this is a monster win to be able to put into his back pocket if his team can finish it off. 2-2. Luis Robert lines it, nearly took out Joelkiski Bear down there in a foul ball.
A huge game one for Team Italy. Wow. 6-2 right here in the 10th. If they can hold on to this lead, securing that first win. One of the favorites.
The other thing that's so interesting about this, Ryan, is if Cuba drops to 0-2 here, what does this do to the Federation and this move now bringing back big league players? Because it feels like it can send things in one of two ways. Either we brought these guys back and it didn't work, we can't do it again. As Robert serves this one out into right field and dunks it down. An RBI single for Luis Robert, who comes through. He's now 1 for 5, and Cuba is one closer. It's 6-3 in the 10th.
And there is a heartbeat for this Cuban team. Still a faint heartbeat, but it's still there. It's the slider down and away. Luis Robert Jr.'s throwing those hands out. 2 strikes. Finding some outfield grass.
And it brings in Alfredo Despaigne. 2 for 4, double and a run scored. He scored from second base on the RBI single by Arrubarena. And trying to make this a 6-5 game on that swing. He comes up empty.
Look at that. 3 for 15 runners in scoring position, 3 for 11. Pretty even, but I'll tell you what, Italy's busting it open in the 10th inning.
Oh, and 1 on Despaigne. The flip side of that equation for Cuba is, does it make the mindset, hey, we got to figure out a way to get more guys involved? The drive out to left center field. In pursuit is DeLuzio on the warning track. He hauls it in. Alfredo Despaigne gave it a ride, but 2 gone, and Italy is 1 out away from clinching its first win of the 2023 Classic. And Cuba will go to the bench for Yurisbel Gracial.
This ball just getting up into that wind. That wind that goes out towards left field, knocking the ball down. Not enough in this situation. I will say this though, Tyler, as that ball was hit, and you're watching that ball go out towards left center field, you think to yourself, if this is a home run right here, it kind of kills that rally, kills that constant, you know, moving the runners around.
No balls and a strike on Gracial. Yoan Moncada, the weight of the world on his shoulders right now, 0 for 5. As Gracial lifts one to center. Ben DeLuzio is there, and Italy knocks off Cuba for a monster Game 1 win for the Azzurri.